What up, cocksuckers and cocksuckerettes? It is the MMA podcast. We got a lot to talk about, so I'm not going to waste any time. We have two cards from last week we're going to be breaking down. Fight for the Troops 3 from Fort Campbell, Kentucky, with Tim Kennedy getting a win on the main card of that. We also had Fight Night 32. Vitor is a motherfucker, knocking out Dan Henderson in the first round. First time Dan had ever been knocked out. We also have one of the most exciting bantamweight prospects in the world, Aljamain Sterling. We are going to have him on in about the middle of the show. And of course, this coming weekend, UFC 167, Chael Sonnen, Rashad Evans, GSP Hendricks. We're going to break that down. Let's do this, cock suckers.
You're listening to the MMA Podcast.
That's right, Lenny Hart. It is the MMA podcast. Like I said, we got a bunch to break down, so we aren't going to waste your time. First and foremost, a shout out to our sister podcast across the pond, MMA Mental. They're always doing big things. Check them out, MMAmental.com, and on Twitter at MMA Mental. And of course, our friends on Twitter, Yow_the_truth, C. Lowenstein, J_Gene, Sweet Pappy Jones, Mike Hammersmith, everybody over there. We have three of the biggest MMA fans, three of the most knowledgeable MMA fans that I know. You know them as Ramses, Ross, and Allen. First and foremost, Ramses, what is going on the street, cocksucker?
Look, everybody already knows who I am. You follow me on Twitter, The Ed Jimmy Show. I am the word on the street. This is just going to be a performance that I'm about to put on for you people. We all are, right here on the MMA podcast. Word on the street.
Possibly, and that was actually him. That was not the drop, even though it sounded exactly like the drop. I think this is our latest pod ever. We're doing this at just about 2 a.m. Eastern, so definitely huge thanks to the three of you doing the show. We also we have Ross and Allen on. We're all going to be splitting a room at the MGM Grand this weekend in Las Vegas, so definitely follow all of us on Twitter to keep up with the antics that we get ourselves in. There's probably 85% chance that I'll get arrested at some point, so definitely follow Ross and Allen on Twitter. Well, they take pictures of me being loaded in the back of a police car. Ross Finkelstein, E before the L. What it do?
A little low, I think, but what it do? I'll tell you what it do. I am currently sitting here. My dedication to this show, it is 1:57 in the morning, ladies and gentlemen. Brought out the ladies and gentlemen on you. And I am doing ACT questions right now while I talk to you, while I give you all the information you want to know, while I break down Vitor steroids, while I break down UFC 167, because I love everyone who's listening. I love everyone here, sort of. I am Ross Finkelstein. Follow me on Twitter at Ross Finkelstein, E before the L. Like Jake said, UFC 167 this weekend. I fly into Vegas Friday morning. They get there Wednesday. We're going to tear shit up in Vegas. Like Jake said, he will get arrested at some point, and we will have to bail him out. Tune in. Follow us on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at Ross Finkelstein, E before the L.
That's right, and I hope I get beaten up while I get arrested. Just to clarify, are you doing the actual standardized ACT or like a practice version?
This is well, right now I'm doing a practice test. Obviously, I'm not taking the ACT while I'm doing a podcast because they probably would. No, they would definitely disqualify me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we can turn this into we help Ross cheat on the ACT and have like people call in with answers and shit. But all right, good. I haven't been in school in a long time. It's been about 5 or 6 years, so I don't know what these kids are doing with their 2 a.m. tests on the interwebs and whatnot. Finally, I saved the best for last, people. He just bought 2 ellipticals on Walmart for $33 a piece. Ross just got like 2 $300 monitors for $6 a piece. Alan just got like a $400 projector for $8 a piece. How? Because they're motherfucking wizards. He is the gangster of Baton Rouge. What's up, Alan?
What's up, guys? Yeah, I'm doing my part right now. Vote stunning. I'm on number 215. I will be doing it throughout this podcast. Follow me on Twitter, Westland Eagle.
Sorry, I was gonna say it's number 215 now, but you did what, like 1,000 in the first round or something?
No, I only pumped out the first like 200, and I was also voting on the website like at the same time, so it probably does equal up to 1,000.
You're a crazy motherfucker. We actually will talk about the cover vote in a minute. But yeah, just a quick note too. If you want to be a part of the show, we do it Monday nights. We usually aim to start around midnight Eastern, a little bit beforehand. It's midnight Eastern Mountain Time, so we're starting kind of late tonight. We usually start pretty late. Shit goes down. You know, I would explain my entire story, but I'm pretty sure major parts of it are against the law, so I'm just not even going to talk about it. But definitely visit us on Twitter, the MMA Podcast, themmapodcast.com, to be a part of the show. Tweet us, obviously, at the MMA Podcast, like I just said, or you can call in on Skype, the MMA Podcast, or the number, if you want to make me pay 2 cents a minute, is 213-457-3380. But I will gladly listen to your two cents, literally, whether it's you ranting about something crazy or having a salient point about MMA. This is really a no-holds-barred show in the spirit of mixed martial arts. Let's get on to it. UFC Fight for the Troops 3 was this past Wednesday, November 6, 2013. I caught every fight except the Kennedy fight, which I caught when I got home. I was at an Avalanche Predators game over at the Pepsi Center in Denver, but this was in Fort Campbell. And yeah, you had 4 military veterans, and Tim Kennedy, Liz Carmouche, Colton Smith, and Neil Magny, which was really cool to see. Just a personal note, something I found kind of weird before we talk about the fights, were how they were like really kind of inconsistent about the message. Like they would be like, this is the M7000 helicopter. It has 48 ballistic missiles and 3 nukes on each side. Look at the machine gun. It's like, and it's like, wow, that's pretty crazy. And then like literally 5 minutes later, it's a really warm, heart-touching story about somebody who fought, whether it was in the Gulf or in Vietnam, and they're really having struggles with, post-traumatic stress and like brain issues, and it's just like, wow, it's really kind of odd that they're like not spacing this out whatsoever. Like what message are you sending out there? But I'll get off of my soapbox. Yes, Ross, either in the Gulf or in Vietnam. Probably not
Jesus
both.
Christ. I haven't been in Vietnam since the fucking...
Yeah, I think they had old dudes, right? With like the like hats with like, I was on the USS Destroyer. I don't know. I like wasn't paying attention, but I know some of those dudes were a little old. I guess that was the 60s, so if they were fighting then, they would need to be in like their 70s or 80s now. But
they'd be as old as Dan Henderson.
That's right, and we will talk about that fight, which was the other card of the week. But let's get back to the UFC Fight for the Troops 3 card. You had those 4 online prelims. You had Derek Brunson defeating Brian Houston via first round rear naked choke in just 48 seconds. Seth Baczynski defeating Neil Magny via unanimous decision, 29-28 across the board. Yancey Medeiros defeating Yves Edwards via first round KO. Yves landed a lot of punches, but Yancey ate a lot of good strikes. Just landed the perfect punch there that knocked Yves out. And finally, we had another middleweight fight where Lorenz Larkin took out Chris Camozzi via unanimous decision. What stood out for you all? Yancey and Derek Brunson, both, with first round finishes, are my obvious picks. But what about you guys? I'll edit out the silence that is sure to follow while nobody decides to jump in.
I'll
Oh,
jump in.
Oh,
All right.
go ahead, Rob.
Ramsey.
Please. No. No,
But-
go ahead. I was only doing it just because I didn't think you guys had the. All right, go ahead.
All right, I'll start out. I guess. Yeah, Yancy Medeiros, he impressed. I mean, I was.
You know
on
what?
the
I
fence.
will go first. Actually,
Here we go.
you know what, Yancey boy? He got straight up. He got that 1 in a million lottery ticket at the gas station. All right. Yves Edwards was destroying this man on the feet, outstriking him clearly. I mean, Rogan was beginning to weep. And then, Yancey boy just lands like a desperation uppercut of some sort. I don't know. Honestly, Ease wasn't probably feeling that great. He probably went into this fight injured, maybe a broken shoulder, neck. That's what happened. Go ahead and continue, Ross. That's all I have to say.
Well, Yancy Medeiros looked fantastic. He outstruck Yves Edwards, which was an incredible thing. He hit him with a lot of tough shots. He got hit with a couple of hard shots. He just ate him, went out there, brawled, and ultimately won that brawl. He's a guy who's been training with the Diaz brothers, so obviously he's been working on his boxing a lot with Richard Perez and Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz. And yeah, he's a solid guy that we have to look out for. I mean, his first UFC fight, he fought Rustam Kabilov, and we all know what he did later on in the night. I guess we'll get to that in a little while, but he lost that fight because of an injury. I mean, granted, Rustam threw him and he dislocated his thumb, and I saw that in the weirdest night of UFC history ever. But yeah, Yancy looked good. Derek Brunson looked absolutely fantastic. Threw one strike, or landed one strike, really. I guess threw one or two strikes, hit him perfectly. Immediately didn't try and follow up the punches. Immediately went for that choke, got that choke. Just Brian Houston tried to fight it. He had a lot of heart, a lot of courage to just keep going, and he was really, really trying to fight that, but ultimately he had to succumb to the choke because Derek Brunson is a killer. But yeah, those two guys really stood out, and Lorenz Larkin also, he stood out. Chris Camozzi, too. Chris Camozzi, tough guy, so durable, takes a lot of damage, but like he eats a lot of shots. I give that guy credit. He's a Team Darkside member, so I'm a little sad about that one. We should all be. But yeah, Yancy Medeiros and Derek Brunson, you guys impressed.
They did impress. Alan, what about you?
Yeah, I was really impressed with Derek Brunson. He's had a couple of wins in the UFC that haven't looked all that impressive, due to one of the fights being taken on short notice. He's a strike force guy, and he comes in there and fucking crow-cops Houston, and it was beautiful. And like Ross said, the way that he capitalized and didn't even try with any ground and pound, he just immediately went for that rear naked choke. That just, shows killer instinct and shows that, he's there to win fights. He's not there to, look good and impress, people with, how many fucking bombs he can drop with his fist. He wants to win fights, get in there, get out, take his little bit of damage and move on to the next one. Yancy Medeiros, I thought he was taking way more shots than what he needed to take. He's a big guy, so maybe that accounted for Yves' shots not maybe hurting him as badly as they would somebody else in that division. But Yves was teeing off on him, had the timing, and just got caught. Got flush on the chin, knocked him out. It happens. It's MMA. You wear 4-ounce gloves. Anybody can knock anybody out at any point in time with a good shot. The Chris Camozzi and Larkin fight. Larkin, he's always a gamer, man. He got screwed on in his last fight. He really deserved this. He got outstruck, but he landed the more significant strikes and did a whole lot more damage. And Chris Camozzi, hats off. That's what the UFC was built upon. Tough guys like that were willing to go in there and entertain us, the fans. So I thought the prelims were, the Facebook prelims were excellent, and you could have put those on an undercard and sold them.
Yeah, they actually started pretty early. They started, I think, around like 1 in the afternoon here. So it was definitely pretty cool to have a little bit of afternoon UFC going on if you weren't at work and didn't have to DVR it. Let's move to the Fox Sports 1 card. We had a couple more first round finishes, one of which being Amanda the Lioness, or the Lion Hunter, one of those names. Amanda Lion something Nunez defeating Jermaine de Randamie via first round elbows, TKO, 4 minutes in there. A featherweight fight, Dennis Bermudez looking really excellent, taking out Steven Seiler via unanimous decision, 30-27 across the board. We also had Francisco Rivera defeat George Roop via second round TKO, and in what was probably the most controversial call of the night, Bobby Green and James Krause. All in the first round, Bobby Green accidentally kicked Krause in the nuts twice. The first time, he got a warning. The second time, he got a point taken away. The third time, Krause falls. Big John waves off the fight, and everyone thinks, okay, the fight's won for Krause because Green has just been disqualified for kicking Krause in the nuts for the third time. But actually, John ruled that it was not a nut kick, it was a kick to the belt line, and that it was a legal TKO. People still are backing up John and disagreeing with John. I'm sure your thoughts on it will be touched on when you give us your thoughts on these 4 fights. But personally, I thought Dennis was. I mean, he's a guy who could really easily make a run into the top 10 of the featherweight division. Dennis Bermudez, that is, taken out a game. Steven Seiler. What do you guys think? Green, Rivera, Bermudez, Nunez. What stood out for y'all?
Well, I'd like to start off because I absolutely love this topic. It is fun to argue because everyone thinks that, oh, he kicked him in the nuts 3 times. Why didn't he stop that and give him time to recover or see if he was okay and then do something? And sure, Bobby Green kicked James Krause in the nuts twice. No one denies that, obviously. The third time, the kick may have grazed the cup. All right, it grazed the cup, but it did land to the body. And Big John saw a kick that landed to the body, and James Krause fell onto his stomach with his arms to his side. He was not grabbing his cup. He was not grabbing down there at all. He had his arms to his side, and he was just down on the ground. When you're a referee and you see a kick land like that, it makes that noise, it hits the body like that, hits that belt line, and the fighter falls down to their stomach, you make a split-second decision. You don't wait and check on them and ask them if they're okay or anything like that. They fall to their stomach, that means they're done. That's the same thing that happens when someone gets knocked out. And let's take it back to UFC 165 a few weeks ago, or a couple months ago at this point, when we had Eddie Wineland versus Henry Barrow, and a lot of people were calling an early stoppage there, and it was not an early stoppage because when he got hit in the face, he turtled up on his stomach and he was not fighting. James Krause fell to his stomach with his arms to his side, and he was not doing anything. He was making no effort to stand up. He was not moving around, nothing. He was just wincing in pain, and he was on the ground. Big John sees that, and Big John stops the fight because you have to make a split-second decision. That's the fighter showing, I'm done fighting. If he wasn't done fighting, he would have gone to his back, or he would have stayed on his knees, something like that. But the fact that he went to his stomach and laid there, he was done. He made the right call. He saw a body kick. Sure, it may have grazed the cup, but it still landed to the body, and that's that. Game over. Sorry, James Krause. As far as the other guys go, Francisco Rivera, this guy needs to step up in competition. George Roop, he shouldn't have been fighting. This was a terrible matchup. He destroyed him, brutalized him. This is another knockout win for Francisco Rivera. I believe he's practically won 6 straight if it wasn't for that no contest he had with Roland Delorme. He's a killer, and it's going to be interesting to see him make that leap up to the next level in the bantamweight division. Dennis Bermudez, Steven Seiler. This fight, to me, was the fight of the night. This was such an awesome fight. I mean, the one that did win fight of the night, Khabibulov and Masvidal, that was a great fight too, but to me, I love this fight a little bit more. I love both of these guys. I think they're both great talents. Bermudez, man, he is a killer. He is someone who has improved his game so much since coming off the Ultimate Fighter. This is a guy who went into the Ultimate Fighter with on a 2-fight losing streak, lost the Ultimate Fighter finale, so he was on a 3-fight losing streak, and has completely turned his career around. And he's won like 5 straight at this point. He's knocking on the door of title contention at 145, which is very weird to say right now because this is a guy who none of us thought would actually be in this position just a few years ago when he was fighting, when he was losing to Diego Brandao. So I think the one thing that's going to hurt him is the fact that he's a 5'6". Basically, he's a bantamweight or a flyweight fighting at featherweight. That's the only thing that really could hurt him. But man, he's just so fast. His movement is so good. He was moving around so quickly, and he's got power. He's got great wrestling. He's just a well-rounded guy. And Amanda Nunes, of course, this came as no surprise to me. When you put a striker in there with someone who's also a grappler, obviously you know what happens. Just easy takedown, mount, elbows, game over. Nothing shocking here. Amanda Nunes looked good. Germaine de Randamie, she's actually a very, 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 very good kickboxer. The best kickboxer that the UFC has in the women's division. But this is MMA, and you need more than kickboxing to survive.
Ross,
that's right.
Bringing the Jew to you.
I'd like to weigh in about the whole nutshot controversy. All right, Ross actually broke it down extremely well. Big John did make a split-second decision, and you really have to fucking give him credit for this one. I mean, he got the call right. It was a low blow, but it was not a groin shot. Low blows are permitted in MMA, but a groin shot is not. So Big John saw it, like he knew like that was a strike that ended the fight, but it was not an illegal strike. Even with, he was probably at that moment hypersensitive to watching for another fucking nut shot because it had already happened twice before. So of course he's making sure that shit ain't gonna happen again. And then some situation, some nightmare like flash situation occurs where Big John is like, "Oh shit, was that another nut shot?" And he was like, right away, "Nope," made the right call. Waved it off, said the fight is over. You got basically TKO'd by a low blow, not a nut shot. He is, without a doubt, the best fucking MMA referee that has ever lived. Read his book. Order that shit on Amazon. You watch that UFC 20-year documentary. They don't even... Big John, man, he doesn't even bring up the fact that he actually helped invent mixed martial arts and the UFC. He helped. I'm not saying he was responsible. Anyway, that was an awesome call. And other than that, chick fight was kind of boring. That's all I have to say.
Word up, Alan. You still with us? The Baton Rouge gangster.
He's mesmerized. He's got chills going down his spine. He's been schooled.
He's too busy. He's got like 98 more tweets to go.
Can y'all hear me?
There he is. What's up?
No, I've been here the whole time, but for some reason it wasn't working. And it wasn't on mute. Weird. Yeah, the de Randamie fight in Nunes, man, that was a null point. You knew that shit was gonna happen. You knew fucking Nunes was gonna come and blitz her. De Randamie, I don't think she has the heart to be a MMA fighter. I think she's more of a kickboxer. I don't care if she's undefeated. She just reminds me of fucking Stefan Struve. Probably has no chin. But the Steven Siler fight, man, I was really upset because I thought Steven would do better. It was an exciting fight. But Bermudez proved once again why he is a better fighter than Siler. He adapts and, he takes the game to where he's most comfortable, and that's taken down and ground and pound. The nut shot, me and Ross had a big argument about this. I don't even really give a fuck anymore because it was a third nut shot and it was the wrong call. And yeah, it's a split-second decision, but you can also wait 2 or 3 more seconds before you make that decision. You don't have to make the decision immediately. You can walk over to the fighter. I mean, I've seen times when guys get hit in the nuts, they move over, they grimace, and, fucking Yamazaki walks over there like 4 or 5 seconds later and is like, oh, okay, break, break, break. So to say that they couldn't have waited a few more seconds to make the decision is bullshit, because it happens all the time. There's numerous examples. Yamazaki's like a perfect person to go back and watch his refereeing style, because he always late stepping in to break up stuff. So
Or Mazzagatti.
yeah, Mazzagatti as well, but I'm not gonna stay on that too much longer. Overall these were really good. I think I like the Facebook prelims a little more, probably because Steven Siler fought and lost, and I'm pretty biased towards him because I really like the kid.
Word up, yeah. Let's switch over to the main card now, which actually we saw a few pretty decent finishes. Michael Chiesa defeating Colton Smith via rear naked choke in the second round. Hustam Kabalov looking very good. All of these Russian dudes are kind of coming out of nowhere, but they're very, very, very impressive. Hustam defeating Jorge Masvidal via unanimous decision, 30-27, 29-28, 30-27. Yoel Romero defeating Ronnie Marks in the third round via TKO. Alexis Davis really sort of cementing her spot in the top 5 of the women's bantamweights, defeating Liz Carmouche via unanimous decision, 30-27, 30-27, 29-28. And Tim Kennedy fighting on a torn quadricep, beating Rafael Natal, who is not a slouch, via first round KO, 4 minutes and 40 seconds into that one, which, the troops were sort of down. The vets were 0-3. Magny lost, Smith lost, Carmouche lost, and Tim kind of went in there and saved it with a beautiful left that finished the fight with just 20 seconds to go. And it's very, very admirable that he fought on that torn quad, because if anyone's ever torn a muscle, that is excruciating pain. I think it was the top part of his quad that like attached to his hip flexor or something. Just that had to have been really brutal. But obviously, to me, it was Davis just soundly beating Liz. Michael Chiesa looked great. Hustam Kabalov, Tim Kennedy, even Yoel. Really, all 5 people stood out. What do you guys think?
Well, the people that really stood out to me were Alexis Davis, Yoel Romero. Actually, you know what? I take that back. Everyone really stood out here. Everyone looked good. Chiesa, he looked good. I mean, he did what he always does. He gets beat in the first round, nearly finished, comes back and chokes you out in the second. It was a typical Mike Chiesa fight, so all the credit in the world to that guy. And hopefully he can improve his game, improve his striking a little bit, and not nearly get finished in every first round, because he has the makings to be a contender. He's just really got to put it together and improve himself. Kabilov, he has the makings to be a future contender. That guy is a monster. Everyone was saying how this fight was really, really close, and it was a close fight, but I thought Kabilov won all 3 rounds for sure. I didn't think it. I thought he won. It wasn't the clearest win for some of those rounds, but I did think he did enough to win all 3. He definitely won the first, the second. I don't know. I don't see how he lost that fight. Yoel Romero, though, that's the guy we should be talking about. This is someone who, at 36 years old, is just an absolute beast. He's got knockout power. He's got Olympic-level wrestling. I mean, this is a silver medalist in the Olympics, someone who's beaten Cale Sanderson in wrestling, which is, if you're a wrestling aficionado, that's like, wow. So this is a guy and he's not even using his wrestling. That's the more amazing part. This is a guy who's at 36 years old, coming into his own in MMA, not even really using his wrestling, and knocking guys out. And he knocked out a very, very, very tough guy in Honey Marquez. So this moves him up the ladder. I think they need to not take it slow with this guy. When you're 36 years old, throw him to the wolves. I say his next fight should be against someone like Luke Rockhold. I think that's the best thing to do. He's looked so good in his 2 UFC fights, his knockout of Clifford Starks and then his knockout here of Honey Marcus. So I say push him up the ladder, give him Luke Rockhold. Alexis Davis, man, she is a monster. She's so well-rounded. She's got that great kickboxing. She's got the great jiu-jitsu. She's got tremendous heart. She's got a hell of a chin. She's very durable. She had that nasty cut, and she just did not give a shit, came forward, and still performed. So, yeah, I got to say, pretty damn good card from those 4.
Yeah, and excuse me, gentlemen. Yeah, aside from the fact that the chick fight was a disappointment and like just boring to me, I do have to agree with everything that Ross just said. That Jew has it right. I gotta check my wallet because he stole the words right out of my mouth.
You better check the wallet.
Alan?
Can you guys hear me? Yeah. So I will start off with saying Michael Chiesa murdered Colton Smith in the second round. I predicted it. I knew it would happen. Colton Smith is a bum. He's gonna be 0-3 and out the UFC, motherfuckers. I don't care if he fought for the troops or whatever he did. He's out of here.
Wait.
And
Yeah, you just reminded me, Alan. That's what I wanted. It came to my stoned head. Like I was like, I did want to say something about the Colton Smith thing. You're right, man. I agree with you too. We're on a roll here, gentlemen. Colton Smith is from Austin, Texas, where I am currently living and broadcasting from. I sleep here. I eat my meals here in Austin, Texas. And look, trust me, if you're an MMA fighter from Austin, Texas, and I don't like you, like I actually like dislike you, you got a problem. If you're a mixed martial artist in Austin. If you're a UFC fighter in Austin and I still don't like your ass and dislike you, you've got a big fucking problem, and it has nothing to do with me. This guy's got to check himself. I wouldn't be surprised if they cut him. I'm done with this guy. That's all I had to say. Thanks for reminding me, Alan. Damn, you're a good guy.
God damn it, Alan, you beautiful bitch. Let us move on to the other card we had, which was Saturday. It didn't take place in Kentucky. It took place in Guyana, Brazil. It was The Ultimate Fighter, UFC Fight Night 32. Why did I read it like that? That was really weird. Anyway, it was headlined by Vito versus Hendo. We will talk about that fight specifically, but first, let's talk about the online prelims, sort of do it in a big batch like we did last time. Dustin Ortiz defeating Jose Maria Tomei via third-round TKO. Adriano Martins, I think it's Martins, defeated my boy Darren Cruikshank via second-round submission armbar. Thiago Tavares defeating Justin Salas via first-round rear naked choke in the lightweights. In the middleweights, Amari Akhmedov defeats Thiago Perpetual via first-round KO in what was the fight of the night. The submission of the night went to Martins. And we had Sam Cecilia defeating Godfredo Pepe via first round TKO. You gotta love a prelim with 5 fights where all of them we see quick finishes. There was a lot of just empty air, especially around those last 3 prelims, because all 3 of those fights ended in 3:31 or less. But who of Ortiz, Martins, Tavares, Akhmedov, and Cecilia stood out to you guys?
The guy who definitely looked the most impressive was Thiago Tavares. He's coming off of a pretty long layoff, and just his wrestling looked good, his striking looked good, his grappling looked good. He just looked really, really good. He's a guy who's always been floating around lightweight, but has never been able to come relatively even close to the top 10 of the division. I mean, he's always been around the top 20, top 18, top 17. So a win like that is definitely big for him. Sam Cecilia, another guy who I actually really like. Very, very powerful guy. Got it done fast on Pepe. Pepe needs to work on his defense from his guard. He was finished now twice with strikes from the guard, so he's got to work on that. That Russian guy, I can't pronounce the name, Akhmedov, I think it is, but he He's going down to 170, which is good because that's where he belongs. What a chin on that guy. How durable is he? He gets hurt, nearly finished a couple times, comes back and knocks out Perpetuo, whatever his name is. All these names are ridiculous. It's crazy. So credit to that guy. And he's 12-0 now. He's got a lot of finishes on his record. I think he's got like 1 decision, 2 decisions maybe. So look out for that guy. Dustin Ortiz, he's been one of the best flyweights in the world for a while. Look out for him. Beating someone like Tomei is definitely an impressive thing, and he looked good doing it. And Adriano Martins, I mean, people are calling this guy the Damian Maia of lightweight. He's such a good grappler. He's a world-class grappler. Defeated a very game opponent in Crookshank, another guy that we have to look out for. So yeah, really the winners are all solid guys that you got to all keep your eye on.
Word up, yeah. Ramses?
The Damian Maia of lightweight. That's like saying he's a weak ass Damian Maia. All right, that's what that translates to.
That's exactly what it means.
Other than that's all the material I had on this one. I'm sorry, Alan. Go ahead.
Once again, we got a little area of silence that I'll need to edit out. Alan, I'm hearing crackles.
Jesus
There he
Christ.
is.
My fucking headphones. Fuck them. I'll have to go solo without my headphones. Yeah, Crookshank, man, I was really disappointed. I was looking forward to this fight, see how he would bounce back from that, split decision with Eves, and he got dominated. It was pretty one-sided and pretty disappointing. I didn't see the Tavares fight. The Perpetuo and Akhmedov fight, that was fucking crazy. And to see Akhmedov, come back with the, his chin and just not give up and come back and take out Perpetuo was awesome because, anytime there's a Brazilian that gets taken out, I'm your man. I'm the one that's happy. I'm the man that's, cheering them on. Doesn't matter what country they're from. I wouldn't care if they were a Nazi as long as they're taking out Brazilians. And last off on that card, Sam Cecilia, Team Tough Live, Michael Chiesa's buddy. He hadn't looked all that impressive. He's really one-dimensional. He's only, gone in there looking for knockout shots, but he was able to get Pepe down on the ground and finish him with strikes. Pretty dominant performance. I'd like to see more from him, maybe more, varied fight plan, not just come out and headhunt, because that's not always going to work. You're not always going to be the bigger, stronger guy. So, I want to continue to see him improve, but overall, I'm impressed.
Word up, yeah, and we will move on to that main card where we actually saw a lot of up-and-coming people that the average everyday MMA fan might not know much about, but they will soon. Pretty much all of the winners you could maybe file under that category. Jeremy Stevens defeating Hani Jason via first round KO head kick. 40 seconds in, Jason got so upset that he punched his hand through a wall backstage and had to be rushed to the hospital because he had a big gash up his arm. That's never good. Ryan LaFleur, who another guy, he and Thatch really stand out as far as up and coming prospects. But Ryan LaFleur, talk about more crazy names, defeats Santiago Ponzinibbio, if that's how you pronounce it, via 30-27 unanimous decision across the board. Brandon Thatch, we all pretty much predicted it last week, and like we said, it was a first round. It should have been a TKO, but actually ended up being a submission to strikes over Paulo Thiago 2 minutes into that first round. We also had Rafael Cavalcante, or as I guess they're billing him now, Rafael Feijão, defeating Igor Pekryak via another fight that should have ended via TKO, but ended up being a submission to strikes. Really rare to see that, even rarer to see it back to back. That was very, very bizarre. And then the co-main and main event. We'll save the we'll save the main event for its own topic because we're going to talk about that on its own. So I guess we'll stop with the co-main event, which was a middleweight bout between Cesar Mutante Ferreira and Daniel Sarafian. Cesar winning the split decision 28-29, 30-27, 30-28. what did you guys think about that? I was all about my boy from right here in the 303, Brandon Ruckus Thatch. Dude is on a tear, and he is very soon gonna be knocking on that top 10 of the stacked welterweight division. What y'all think?
I think one thing, and that's Brandon Thatch. Brandon Thatch is the murderer that I've been touting him to be forever. I touted him going into his UFC debut. I touted him before that. I've been talking about this guy for a long time, and here he is. He just destroyed a longtime veteran in the UFC in Paulo Thiago. Absolutely destroyed him. It was no contest. Paulo was able to get him down for a brief second, and he just stood right back up with ease. Just completely ragdolled him, overpowered him, and then landed a beautiful knee to the body that just dropped him, and that was it right there. He was done right after that knee. He started tapping immediately. He wanted nothing to do with him. He started tapping his leg, and then he started tapping the mat so the ref could see, and the ref finally stepped in. It was vicious. It was beautiful. Beautiful destruction. Another first-round finish for Brandon Thatch. Every single one of his wins are in the first round. He is a killer. And at 6'2", 170 pounds, he is going to be fighting for the welterweight championship at some point in his UFC career. He is that damn good. I've never had a doubt in this guy's skills. He's one of my favorite fighters right now. He is a killer. And as far as the other guys go,
6'2", and he's got the backing of the Jew.
Exactly. People are throwing the puns out there. People are throwing the rhymes out there. I don't even need to do it anymore. As far as the other guys go, my boy Ryan LaFleur from good old Long Island, New York, he got it done. Moved to 9-0. Another decision win over Santiago Pazablaba, something like that. We don't know. I'll call him Pazablaba because I like that more. He beat the shit out of Pazablaba, although he got hurt in that third round, I think it was. He still managed to put him back on his back anyway. So credit to Ryan LaFleur. Look out for Ryan LaFleur. I don't know what they're going to do with him next. I don't know who he should fight next, but look out for Ryan LaFleur. Jeremy Stevens murdered Honey Jason. That probably should have been knockout of the night. It was definitely the better kick. It was beautiful. It was vicious. It was so bad that Honey Jason actually mutilated himself after the fight because he was so upset. He needed about 26 or 27 stitches, I believe, in his arm. It was gnarly. Jeremy Stevens made himself a contender at 145, and hopefully they give him the right fight next and they don't screw him out of a big fight because he deserves a big fight. Who else do we have here? We got Fei Zhao. Fei Zhao bouncing back from his shitty UFC debut. Came in much better shape. He had more gas and absolutely destroyed Igor Pekrajic. Beautiful knees to the body, knee to the liver. He went down, followed it up with strikes, and that's all she wrote. Beautiful, beautiful performance by Fei Zhao. And Mutante, whatever his name is, Mutant, however they pronounce those names in Portuguese, Caesar versus Serafian. That fight wasn't a big fan of that one. Glad it's out of the way so people can shut up about that tough Brazil finale. We know who won. Big whoop. Who cares?
I'm blown away, Ross. Well done, Mr. Finkelstein. I'd also like to speak a little bit on... First off, the Mutante versus whatever the hell his name was. For some reason, his own crowd, his own people, the people of Brazil, were not only booing Mutante, whatever the Cesar Ferreira, they were not only booing him, they were calling him a quote faggot. I don't know why we should have had a Brazilian on the show tonight on the panel to explain this, because I suspect there's a story here somewhere that hasn't made its way to the North American media. Why were they booing him? And why were they calling him a, quote, faggot, is what I want to know. There's a story there. There's a word on some street, except where, if you're on the street and you don't speak the language, man, nobody's going to talk to you is what I'm saying. Word on the street about that. But also the Honey Jason fight. Holy shit, that was off the script. Not supposed to happen. Jeremy Stevens, good on him, I have to say. Well done, man. He is going to come back from, when Eve Edwards destroyed him. Same thing happened. This was the reverse of that fight. This time, Jeremy Stevens was two-piecing that motherfucker. Honey Jason was a good fighter, though. But about that one, the aftermath, when he apparently put Honey Jason punched his hand through a wall and just, I tweeted a picture out earlier, just destroyed his arm, deep cuts. You know what? At first I believed the story that he did it out of anger, but now I have a couple questions, man. I mean, maybe since he lost the fight, he disappointed a couple people, a couple bookmakers up there, a couple people that didn't want him to lose, man, that were banking on him. I mean, Jeremy Stevens, he's lost half of his fights, so statistically, you know what I mean? I'm just saying, I don't know anything for sure. I'll gather the research, maybe present my case tomorrow. But yeah, man, a damn shame, but good for Jeremy Stevens. I hope he comes back, man. I hope he comes back. That's it.
Word on the street. Alan?
Yeah, I just want to take this time to express my distaste with tap out. Okay, why in God's name would you make a shirt for Honey Jason and put his name on it, put his emblem, his Friday the 13th Jason Voorhees, his signature mask on the front, because that's what he wears when he comes out? Why would you do all that for a bum like him, but not for Chael Sonnen? Honey Jason has now had his name on just as many tap out shirts as Chael Sonnen, and that is bullshit.
What?
So I just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you, Jeremy Stevens, for killing another Brazilian. I wanted to also thank Ryan LaFleur for killing a Brazilian. I wanted to thank Brandon Thatch for killing a Brazilian. I wanted to tell Igor Pekrais that you suck because you couldn't kill a Brazilian. Daniel Serafian, he belongs at 170. Fiera, or whatever, Mutante, Vitor's, fucking predecessor, his, up and coming, student that trains in Florida with the Black Zillions, is not a real Brazilian anymore, and that's why they hate him, because he dresses up and goes out with Vitor in drag on weekends. That's why they call him a faggot, ladies and gentlemen. Word on the street right here.
Word on the street.
That's right, and that was not the drop. That was really actual hamsies. Let's switch to the Vitor Belfort Dan Henderson fight. Vitor looking to avenge his loss to Dan at Pride 32 back in October 06. And this did not last long, ending 1 minute and 17 seconds into the first round. Before we talk about Vitor's future, let's talk about the fight itself. Do you think it was an early stoppage? I don't think it was. I mean, Dan was being swarmed on. The fight was close to ending. Not far after, or not. Far after he started swarming, and then Dan gets up, and there is just this head kick landed that is so brutal. Man, what did you guys think of that?
Does anyone else want to go first? I'm not ready to talk about this.
Yeah, look, I'll get mine out. I'll get it out of my system. I do not think it was an early stoppage. Dan Henderson was lying there, lifeless, motionless. And if you would have taken any more of Vitor Belfort's steroid-injected, fist to his face, I think Dan Henderson could have died, ladies and gentlemen. I really think that it could have been the end. I think he would not have a chance to fight in Bellator like he's going to go do now. I think he would have died in the octagon, and we would have had our very first MMA-related death. Of course, nobody would have known about it because it would have been in Brazil, and they probably would have, gave Dan the Universal Soldier serum and brought him back to life, and just had to chill him off after every fight that he took place in. But yeah, that's it.
Holy fuck. Yeah, I somewhat agree, man. It was over for Dan Henderson. I'm just replaying. Seen it over and over in my mind. His bum rush is the only way to describe it. My GTA controller is vibrating now, and my keys just fell. Listen, people. Dan Henderson's attack, his strategy, he had none. All right, he just looked down at the octagon mat, just put his chin down, and then just started swinging away at nothing. It was the goddamnedest bum rush, or I guess if you want to call it a bull charge, if you want to ham it up and pretend like it was some sort of real strategy, and call it a bull rush instead of a bum rush. What the hell was that? It was like he charged in recklessly, like comically. All right, it was ridiculous. Those were the widest rights that I have ever seen attempted from this man, and they both came slow, and both 1-2 back to back as he charged forward without even looking at his opponent with his head down. I'm not gonna go where you people think I'm going, but that's all I gotta say.
All right, here we go. Everyone pull up a chair, settle down, because I'm going to talk for a little while. Vitor Belfort is incredible, and we can't deny that. What he has done in this last year is unbelievably remarkable. Last night, I rewatched every single Vitor fight from his return to the UFC back in 2009 when he fought Rich Franklin all the way up to the Dan Henderson fight. Let me talk about the Dan fight first because that's the topic at hand. This fight, I was really faithful in Dan Henderson. I believed in Hendo like I always do, and it ultimately failed me. I don't know what he was thinking. He was very tentative with the way he came in with that right hand. He kind of threw it, stopped, threw it again, and then kind of tried it again, and then just got blasted with that uppercut, taken off his feet, smashed, stood back up, and just took a huge left high kick that put him down again. It was not an early stoppage, but he wasn't out cold, like completely. He got hit, he was knocked out, and then he hit the ground and woke back up. It was a great stoppage. I commend the referee for that one. But as far as the whole Vitor situation goes, is he the number one contender? Undoubtedly. This guy is the number one contender to the belt right now. He's knocked out 3 straight opponents, 3 straight top 10 guys in the past year, 3 straight top 5 guys, arguably, in their divisions with head kicks. And that's an amazing thing. And a lot of people are saying, well, you can't teach technique like that. You can't teach the skill to throw the head kick. And that is very true. You can't, I take that back. Of course you teach that. You can't take TRT or something and gain those skills. And that's true. You can't just all of a sudden take a magic pill and be able to throw a head kick. It's not possible. But Vitor Belfort is 36 years old. At 36, he is taking testosterone, albeit he's definitely on other substances other than testosterone replacement therapy. But let's throw those out the window and let's only talk about TRT. He is on TRT at 36 years old. At 36 years old, your body's testosterone levels will decline. It is a natural progression. It happens. It's natural for a male at 36 years old to have low testosterone. Vitor Belfort is combating that by taking testosterone replacement therapy to bring his levels from low to a level of a 24 or 25-year-old. And that's not fair because Vitor Belfort now is on a level playing field with all those other 20-year-olds. The difference is he has 23 years of experience and they don't. He has 10 plus years over them. So when you have 23 years of experience, 23 years of training, 23 years of knowledge, and you know how to train properly, you have all these techniques under your belt, and you're not fatigued, you don't feel old, and you still have the exact same amount of testosterone you had when you were 20-something. So that's not fair at all. This is a guy who now is training in an unbelievable camp. He's using this testosterone replacement therapy to bring his levels to a 23 or 24-year-old level, which is not natural. And because of all this training and all this experience, he is able to do these things because he doesn't feel old in the slightest. He doesn't look old. He doesn't move like an old man. He is basically a 24-year-old again. And that just isn't fair. If that's the case, then everyone should be on TRT, and that no one should be on TRT like that. TRT should be used if you have gravely low testosterone levels to bring them back up, if you're 36 years old, to the level of a 36-year-old male, not to the level of a 25-year-old. That is cheating. That is performance enhancing. That is performance enhancing substances. And by Vitor doing that, he is completely skewing the playing field. It's not a level playing field. I said it was a level playing field because everyone has the same testosterone level as far as Vitor and a 24-year-old, but it's not level because what Vitor has over that person is the 23 years of experience that he has under his belt compared to their 10 years of experience, their 5 years of experience. So that's crazy. And yeah, he fought Dan Henderson, who was on TRT also, but Dan's not taking TRT to boost his levels up to a 23-year-old, 24-year-old level. He's taking TRT to bring his levels just up to a little bit normal, something that a 30 or 40-year-old male would have instead of something that's really, really, really low. So, and Vitor may have dangerously low levels, not some gravely low levels because he's performed without TRT before, but he probably has really low levels because of prior steroid abuse. Doesn't mean he should be using it to bring it back to a level playing field of a 24-year-old and using it kind of like steroids. So it's criminal that he's allowed to do this. And it needs to be regulated, needs to be fixed. They got to do something about it before it gets out of hand. Vitor Belfort is cheating. And if you look at his body progression, if you look at Vitor Belfort from UFC 103 to this past Saturday night, and you watch every fight, you go up the list. He looked much slower in the Rich Franklin fight. And every fight, he gets a little bit faster with his movement. He gets a little bit more aggressive. He gets a little bit stronger. And then the Jones fight, he changes drastically with his body. The Bisping fight, it's a huge transformation. And ever since then, he has just been a killer. So he started taking TRT around the Anderson fight. So here's a little experiment. Here's some homework for everyone listening right now. Go back, watch Vitor's fights from UFC 103 to this past Saturday. And specifically hone in on the Anderson fight and past that, because he started taking TRT for that fight. He didn't disclose it, which is going to hurt him in Nevada because he lied and he did not disclose it at all. He was taking it completely under the table. I want everyone to go back, watch those fights, watch his progression, and see the transformation because you can clearly see that he is doing something to his body and it's not natural.
Well, damn, Ross, you've brought up some salient points about Vitor Belfort, but I'm just wondering, just out of sheer curiosity, Ross, how much money did you lose on Dan Henderson this weekend?
None. I would not bet on Dan Henderson for this fight. Vitor Belfort in Brazil, on the substances that he's on, I knew that if Dan won, it's a little far-fetched. I would not bet on Dan Henderson at all.
Look, man, you can't keep claiming it's unfair when both guys were juicing this time. I'm sorry, someone's got to say it. Someone's got to say it. They were both juiced. You can't say it's unfair because he juiced more. You know what I mean? It's like at some point it gets ridiculous and you're taking it to that level. They were both on the same shit. They both could have taken whatever the fuck they wanted. They don't even test over there. Let's all be honest. Dan Henderson looked as old as he looked. Vitor, man, what does he have? Just the better shit? Is that the case? Like, why is Vitor's...
It's not just testosterone replacement therapy, and if you think it's just testosterone replacement therapy, then you need to check your facts because
so you're saying
clear it's not.
So you're saying that Vitor has the better shit then?
No,
Brazilian
Vitor,
the bomba.
Dan Henderson is on testosterone replacement therapy. He is not on steroids. He's not on any other substances. He's on a normal TRT plan that brings his levels back to a somewhat substantial normal level for someone who's in their 40s. He doesn't have the levels of a 25-year-old guy like Vitor Belfort does. He's got the levels that keep him stable. He doesn't have gravely low levels like he would if he wasn't on the testosterone. So To me, Vitor is much worse. Vitor is a clear, blatant cheater, and you can see it through his fights. You could look at his physical transformation. Dan Henderson is not this big, buffed, rough. He's not this huge guy. He doesn't have all that muscle. Vitor Belfort, at 36 years old, all of a sudden went through a second puberty? No.
I hear what you're saying, but it's just, man, nobody's going to cut Vitor a break if like he fights a dude that's also he's got the TRT exemption as well. He fights a dude that also has the same shit going on, and you're still calling it bullshit. That's just amazing to me. I get your reasoning, but I mean, like, you know, it's another fucking example of why you can never regulate this shit, and people just pretend like it's actually like regulated. This fight is an example. Who the fuck are we kidding? That's it.
Did you have something to say, Alan?
It's a race war. Jews versus the Mexicans.
Thank you for that insight. Finally, before we switch over to the news, say what you want about Vitor. Knocking out Dan really kind of puts him in the driver's seat, at least according to Dana White, as far as the next title shot at middleweight goes. What do you think is next for him? Do you think his next fight will be against the winner of Silva Weidman? Will it be in the United States? Will it be in Brazil? Will he likely need another fight before he gets a title shot? What do you think is in the crystal ball for Mr. Belfort?
You know, I don't know. He should be fighting for the title next, obviously, because he's won 3 straight, but he's a cheater, and he doesn't truly deserve it when you really think about it, but technically he does, because he got the 3 straight knockouts. At the same time, he is a logistics problem. He is going to be very hard to license in Nevada, no matter what the promoter says. Dana White can say everything he wants, and I like Dana White a lot. I like the Fertittas. I like the UFC staff. I like every single person in the brass over there. But this is a problem. It's not going to be an easy task getting Vitor licensed. This is a guy who has tested positive before in 2006 for anabolic steroids. So you're going to take someone who's tested positive before for anabolic steroids, then said he took TRT at UFC 126 for UFC 126 and didn't disclose it to the commission. So he openly took technically a banned substance unless you have an exemption, and didn't say anything and now admitted it. So those 2 things are going to hurt him deeply. If you can't fight in Nevada, it's very difficult to fight for the title and be the UFC champion, because Nevada is the capital of mixed martial arts. It's the capital for the UFC. It's the home base. And if you can't fight there, you can't be champion. That being said, it looks like they want to put him in the title fight. If Weidman beats Anderson, it's going to be really, really difficult, because I don't think Chris Weidman's going to want to go to Brazil. And quite frankly, he shouldn't have to go to Brazil. Why should he go to Brazil? He's the champion. Vitor has been hidden in Brazil for the last 3 fights. He hasn't fought in America since 2011. His last fight in America was UFC 133 before his huge physical transformation. So that was Akiyama, and Akiyama is not even alive anymore. Akiyama actually died in that fight, and when they did the press conference for UFC 144 to announce the event, they actually held casting auditions to try and find a new Akiyama, and they found a new Akiyama because Vitor Belfort killed the other Akiyama at UFC 133. So that's besides the point. Vitor is a problem. He's a logistics problem. It's going to be very difficult for him to get licensed in America anywhere. Texas will probably license him, but Nevada won't. And I think he will end up fighting for the belt. It's just going to be a very, very weird situation.
Ramses, what's next for Mr. Belfort?
Vitor, man. Who gives a damn about him? What's next for Dan Henderson is what most people are asking. And really, man, after seeing this, man, he was throwing dust. Like I'm saying, he had nothing. He bull rushed in like a character, like the bald-headed bull character from Mike Tyson's Nintendo Punch-Out. All right, and he did not display any sort of he had no game plan whatsoever. Is what I'm trying to say. Dan Henderson's done. I think he was cashing in his final paycheck. I hope that is the case, because really, man, look, even between fights, when he doesn't even have a fight coming up, you see him walking around and you're like, man, there's something wrong with that dude's back or something. That dude is fucked up. He's a tank, man. He's weathered the storm, man. He's fucking 40 something years old. Almost 50. It's all over. Really, I hope he does retire, just do his own thing, you know, open up some gyms or whatever, get some real teeth in his head or whatever. God bless him. He was one of the greatest mixed martial arts fighters of all time. But, you know, it's time to duck out, man. I mean, even Randy got out, and Randy's a fool, and he knew to do it. That's it.
Yeah, speaking of Randy Couture, Dan Henderson is going to be fighting Randy Couture in Bellator in the next 4 to 5 months. I'm just calling it. What's next for Dan Henderson is, like Chael Sonnen says, he's going to stay in the sport longer than he needs to. And, yeah, that point is right now. He's going to stay in there longer than he needs to. Dan needs to bow out. You know, he just opened the gym. He's got all that going, you know. He just, you know...
What's next for Vitor, though?
Vitor? Who?
Yeah, that was the original question before Ramses hijacked it like Muhammad Atta.
Vitor who? Who? Who are you talking about?
You're damn right, man. That ain't the story.
Oh, you mean that Brazilian guy who abused steroids?
You guys are really cute. Let's move on to the news, you silly, cute wannabe fucks. Alan, I'm going to use my whole fist in Las Vegas just because of that. Let's move on to the news. Anthony Pettis is now out of his title defense in December against Josh Thompson. You know, Pettis is definitely one of the toughest guys, the new lightweight champion, but the guy seems to get injured pretty often. Nate Diaz threw out a pretty inflammatory tweet saying something along the lines of, you know, you're a pussy, you pull out of every other fight. So the questions I want to throw out there that I'm praying to God that Ramses doesn't answer with he's a bum. Let's talk about Chael Sonnen. Will Thompson fight in the interim, and who will Anthony Pettis end up fighting next? I would really like to see Thompson take on either Gilbert, or if Grant's open to fight soon, Grant. I think, you know, people sort of thought that Thompson, especially with everything going on in the 155, there's the possibility that Aldo might move up. Gilbert is who a lot of people are calling the number 2 guy there. Grant, you know, he's been at the front of the line for a while, but things have happened since. Will Thompson fight in the interim? And the ultimate question, who will Tony Pettis end up fighting next? I hope we see Thompson versus Melendez and maybe or versus Grant, but I haven't heard any word about him being ready to go. So Thompson versus Melendez early 2014, and then likely Pettis versus Melendez, which, God, that would be a barn burner. What do you guys think?
Anthony Pettis is so damn injury prone. He gets injured getting out of bed. He's so talented. He's so damn good. He finishes fights. He kills people, but he can't stay healthy. And that's going to be, I mean, shit. Jose Aldo, who was the most injury-prone champion there was, is no longer the most injury-prone champion because Anthony Pettis is. So, like, that's the super fight of injury-prone fighters. If that super fight ever gets booked again, you're never going to see it because someone's going to get injured, and it's probably going to be Pettis. Every time they announce a Pettis fight at this point, I don't believe it ever will happen. I always think Pettis is going to pull out of it for some injury. Not to knock on the guy or anything, but he's made of glass. He gets injured so many times. As far as who should he fight and who Thompson should fight, I don't know if they should book this fight again when he comes back. I mean, they said it's postponed, which usually means that they'll try and put it on again. But I mean, I don't think Josh Thompson deserved the next title shot anyway. I think the person who does deserve the shot because of the fact that he has a recent win in people's minds, recent win and recent memory in the past few months, is Gilbert Melendez. He had that close fight with Benson that a lot of people thought he won, and they should capitalize on his recent win and capitalize on the Gilbert hype train and book that fight, and then do Josh Thompson versus TJ Grant. I don't think TJ Grant should get the next shot. He hasn't fought since May. He fought Gray Maynard. He needs to now make himself relevant again in the top of the division in today's age, because that was in dog age ago. I mean, this is the fight business, and people have very, very short memories in the fight business, and fight fans do not remember things. So if you book Pettis versus Grant right now, you're going to have a lot of people who are casual fans going, huh? So I think Melendez is the best person for Pettis to fight next. I don't think he should fight Thompson. I think Thompson should fight TJ Grant, or maybe actually no, they're teammates. They won't fight each other. So yeah, TJ Grant should fight Josh Thompson. Anthony Pettis should fight Gilbert Melendez. TJ Grant, Khabib Nurmagomedov. I'm getting all these names jumbled up. We've got too many people in the lightweight division. I don't know who he should fight, but he should fight someone up there, because this division is stacked and beautiful, and I love it.
Holy shit. Yeah, once again, Ross, the Jew is on to something here. Obviously, the fight to make would be Gilbert, Melendez versus Pettis. Honestly, I'm not even gonna go that deep. I'm not going where you think I'm going, but I don't buy this Pettis injury shit. I'm just saying, his fight against Thompson or even Grant, whoever the fuck it was gonna be, that was gonna be on free TV. You put Pettis against Melendez, that's a pay-per-view. That's all I'm saying, people. That's the word on the street.
Yeah, you aren't saying anything but directly implying that Pettis' injury is related to getting the UFC more money. Alan?
Yeah, because it wouldn't be the first time that that's happened. Yeah, like Ross said, you're only as good as your last fight. Fight fans don't remember. And when those motherfuckers can't remember your last fight, then your last fight doesn't count. So, TJ Grant, you better step up and fight again. You're not getting a championship fight anytime soon now, even though you deserve it. Josh Thompson, if they give him the option of sitting around and waiting for Pettis to come back, I think he's going to take that. I don't think that he takes another fight if he doesn't have to, because he was just gifted a title shot. Because let's be honest, knocking out a Diaz brother doesn't really count for much these days. I could probably do it. Melendez. Probably. And, Melendez, I don't think he deserves another title shot right away. I'd say let him fight one more time. I mean, he did just beat Bumchez, Diego Bumchez, the guy who lost to Takanori Gomi, but the Japanese Mafia gave the win because they had to buy off the judges. So yeah, that doesn't really constitute him getting a title shot immediately. I think they should throw around a whole bunch of those names, come up with something entertaining that's going to draw money, because, ladies and gentlemen, that's what the UFC does. They make motherfucking money, billions and billions of dollars. So, yeah, I'm kind of happy this happened, because I didn't want to see Pettis destroy Thompson. I'd rather see Thompson get some more fights.
I'm suing you for that.
They're making billions and billions. Really quickly, we aren't going to pass it around, but yeah, let's briefly talk about the UFC cover vote. In the first round, Miesha Tate defeating Ronda Rousey in upset. Bisping over Bisping over Faber, Pettis over Johnson, GSP over Weidman, Sonnen over JDS, Gustafson over Cormier, Aldo over Bendo, and Hendricks over Cruz. This is for the UFC cover, the EA game. The winner will be on the cover alongside John Jones. So now we have the second round, GSP versus Hendricks, Pettis versus Aldo, Sonnen versus Bisping, Gustafson versus Miesha Tate. 4 fights I would love to see. And if you do want to vote for anyone, just use the hashtag #, followed by vote GSP, vote Hendricks, vote Pettis, vote Aldo, Sonnen, Bisbing, Gus, or Tate, depending on who you want to vote for. And submit your votes as many times as you want, like Alan, who I think I've seen tweet hashtag vote Sonnen literally 1,000 times. Let's move on. Two guys who actually faced one another in the first round of this EA Sports thing, Cormier and Gustafsson. A guy named John Jones, the current champion at that weight class, wishes that they would square off in real life. Dana White, obviously saying, well, that doesn't make sense. We have two great guys who can fight for the fightle. Wow, Jesus Christ. Last week it was the mean streams of Queets, and this week it's tighting for a fightle. But no, they will be fighting for a title. John Jones says he wants Cormier and Gustafsson to fight one another, which really makes it come off like he doesn't want to fight both of them. He's doesn't want either fight, and he would much rather they take one another out than him needing to fight Glover, Cormier, and Gustafsson. What do you think? Is Jones scared, or do you think he legitimately thinks it's kind of unfair that the UFC is sort of preserving Gustafsson and Cormier for a title shot? I think he's scared.
He's absolutely scared. He's terrified. If he was smart, if he is the businessman he thinks he is, I mean, he's been talking about how, I won't fight Machida because he won't get me enough pay-per-views. I won't fight this guy because he won't do enough pay-per-views. If he's the businessman he says he is, then he would want the UFC to put those two guys on separate paths so they can preserve two contenders and two big pay-per-view fights for John Jones. John Jones is completely scared of both those guys. He's scared of Cormier. Cormier would throw him on his head with ease. He's scared of Gustafsson. Gustafsson would punch him in the face again with ease. He knows that those are the two worst matchups he's got in front of him right now, and he knows that his belt is going to be around his waist for maybe one more fight.
John Jones, people. I don't, as much as I would like to claim otherwise, I don't believe John Jones is afraid of any man right now, currently. He doesn't feel threatened. But I also don't believe that he's real or genuine. He makes all of his decisions not based on fear. It's all business now. He's running a business. That's how he conducts himself, and that's how he makes his fights, signs his contracts. It's just a business to him. So yeah, sometimes it seems like he's pussying out, but he's really just holding out for the big money. And on some level, I do not blame him. But yeah, he's not threatened at all. So whoever they put in front of him, he knows it's all over. It's pretty much it's a done deal. All right, and what we were talking about is the cover vote. You mentioned it earlier. The cover vote. I've heard a rumor, people. I've heard a damn good rumor from a good source. I got a buddy working at EA Sports. All right, let's just claim that. All right, he's saying that the people that are making the final round, they are all guaranteed to win their next fights. So
the
you
Final
can bet
Round
your money
podcast.
You can catch every Wednesday soon. We're coming back soon, 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Follow me on Twitter at Ross Finkelstein, E before the L. Go ahead,
Final Round
Ramsey.
podcast.
That's right. Just it's a hot stock tip, all right? You bet your money on the people that are going to make the final round of EA Sports. Shout out to Ross Finkelstein next Wednesday or whatever the hell. I don't even know where that was going. But
what?
Yeah, bet your money on the people that are in the final round because they are guaranteed to win their next fight. It's a betting superstition / rumor / tip. That's it.
So whoever makes it into the final round of the video game cover vote, the UFC is going to work their next fights so they don't lose.
That's right, because the game has to launch on a certain date. The artwork has to be turned in by this and that deadline. Yes.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Alan, thoughts on Jones not being a big fan of Cormier versus
you.
Gustafson?
Bravo.
He went Billy Madison deep, man. I love that movie. When they're
Best drop I've
fucking,
ever heard.
when it's Norm just sitting by his pool, and the dude's like turns to him, and they're drinking beer, just sitting by Billy Madison's pool. He turns to him, and he's like, Artie's like, Norm, what day is it? And Norm McDonald's just like, October. That's it.
God, yeah, that's if you have not seen Billy Madison, or for that stance Happy Gilmore, go ahead and do yourself a favor. Alan, I hope you're still with us. We're talking about is Jones, does he really think it's not fair, or is he just acting from the position of being kind of scared, not wanting to fight both guys?
As long as there's not anybody that's going to go ahead and chime in before I'm able to talk, then I'll go ahead and say what I got to say.
John Jones is a goddamn pussy!
Once again, extremely insightful words from the gangster of Baton Rouge, at Westland Eagle AH, Alan Hamilton. Let's we were gonna fit the Aljamain Sterling interview in the middle of the news, but I've made a last minute audible. We're gonna play the interview before we break down UFC 167, and instead we're gonna have our 10 solid seconds of sports. We break down all sports, not MMA, but keep it to 10 seconds. Number 2, Oregon loses to Stanford, leaving Alabama and Florida State as likely national championship contestants, leaving Ohio State, Baylor, and Stanford on the outside looking in. Tampa Bay and Jacksonville get their first win of the season. Steven Stamkos out for the season. Heat and Lakers suck. College basketball underway. Andrew Wiggins looking good. Shit. Ramses is covered in semen. Speaking of Alexander Gustafsson, we thought he was going to fight Little Nog. It was kind of funny because everyone was trashing Little Nog when it turned out the dude apparently didn't even sign up for the fight. But Little Nog will not be fighting Alexander Gustafsson. Instead, a fight I think people are a lot more interested in than the original matchup. Jimmy Manuwa, one of the UK's favorite fighters, definitely the most popular British light heavyweight, going to be taking on Alexander Gustafsson. The question which I want to ask is pretty simple. Does Jimmy Manuwa have much of a chance? Everyone's got a sliver of a chance, a puncher's chance, and that phrase goes really well here. But does Jimmy have much of a chance, or is he just going to get outboxed by an Alexander Gustafsson who proved against John Jones that not only his footwork is world-class elite, but his hands? I mean, you do not want Gustafsson to put his hands on you. I mean, Jones, think about all the killers that Jones has fought. Machida, Hua, Rampage, Evans, Sonnen. Nobody made Jones look close to as fucked up as Gustafsson made Jones look. So Gustafsson, everyone talks about, as far as killers go and really aggressive guys, Glover's got it. Alexander Gustafsson, don't you think for a second that he is not a killer standing up? And actually, I think that Jimmy, his best place is going to be standing up, but I think Gustafsson is the better boxer here, and Manuwa maybe has a 10% chance to win, but in my opinion, it's not much more than that.
Jimmy Manuwa has a lot more than a 10% chance to win this fight. Jimmy Manuwa is one hell of a fighter. He is one brutal fighter. He absolutely kills people, brutalizes them. You look at his last 2 fights, both those fights ended with injuries, the 2 TKOs due to injuries, and both guys weren't even medically suspended for a long time. So it goes to show you he beats people to the point where they actually fake an injury to get out of the fight, which is incredible. He brutalized Kyle Kingsbury. He beat up Cyril Diabate. He beat up Ryan Jimmo. He beat up 11 other guys before that. He's finished every single person he's fought. He's never gone to a 3rd round. He is one hell of a fighter, and this is a really fun fight. Gustafsson is the better boxer of the two. Gustafsson is the more well-rounded fighter, but That doesn't mean Manoa will lose. Manoa has really good striking, really good Muay Thai. He's powerful. He's not exactly the biggest guy. I mean, he's definitely well built, but he's not like a 6'4" guy. He's going to have a size disadvantage. Gustafsson's about 6'5", and Manoa's about 6'1", and Gustafsson will have a pretty significant reach advantage, I believe. I believe Gustafsson's reach is about 81 inches, while Manoa is like 77 or 76. So it's going to be a tough one for Manoa, but it's definitely not an easy one for Gustafsson by any means. This is a tougher fight than Little Nog, and I'm excited to see this one. Plus, he's not on his own home turf. He's in Manoa's home turf. This is going to be in England, so the crowd's going to be behind Jimmy Manoa. It's very interesting, very weird that you see something like this. You see a guy go from fighting the Kyle Kingsburys and the Ryan Jimmos all the way immediately in his next fight to fighting the number 2 light heavyweight in the world. That is very, very interesting, and especially getting to fight the number 2 light heavyweight in the world in your own home country, in your own home arena, on your home turf, with the crowd behind you. That's incredible. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. I can't wait to see it.
Am I next, ladies and gentlemen?
That's right, ladies and gentlemen.
I just want to correct you, Ross. Gustafsson is not the number 2 light heavyweight in the world. He is the number 1. He's defeated John Jones. And
But he didn't.
It's very weird. He definitely did. He beat him.
But
he got an L.
He just didn't get the judge's nod.
But he did.
But he didn't get the judge's nod. Yeah, it's going to be crazy. I definitely think it's a lot better fight than the Little Nog fight, because I think the Little Nog fight, Gustafsson just sits on the outside and picks Little Nog apart until he finishes him eventually. I know Little Nog is a boxer. He's got some credentials. He's beat some guys like Rashad, but that none of that matters. Little Nog would have got destroyed by Gustafsson. Manoa, it's now or never. He's been dominant in all his fights, even though half deformed Kyle Kingsbury was able to lay on top of Manoa, and Manoa couldn't even stand back up. Yeah. So let's see what he's got. Let's put him in there against a big guy. It's sink or swim time. That's basically what I see.
Ramses?
Yeah, man. Holy shit! I was typing just as we were talking about.
That's right.
Refresh my memory. I was agreeing with what Alan was saying, but
we're talking about whether Jimmy Manoa has much of a chance against Alex Gustafsson.
Oh, what I was gonna know. You guys also touched on the Nog injury thing. That's what I wanted to actually comment about. Do you guys really believe that Dana White, his cover up for Nog was that he claimed he announced the fight too soon without even getting Nog's approval? Do you guys really believe that? I mean, do you think that actually happened? I don't. That's ridiculous. He's the president of the company. He's not announcing title contendership fights without even getting an agreement from a guy who is known to be a flake. I don't buy it 1 minute, but I don't have an explanation for it. I just know that it's probably not the actual truth. Not to call Dana a liar, but I guess I just did. But I love you to death, boss. That's it.
I don't know. It might be more something where it was like a soft verbal, hey, in March, thinking about setting up a fight with you and Alexander Gustafsson. Are you down? Yes. And then a few days later, the bout contract isn't officially signed, but Dana White's gotten a yes from both guys, and he's excited to talk about it. I don't know.
In that case, Nog is a bastard. Then in that case, I mean,
Little Nog is a bastard, man. Yeah. It definitely is something we probably won't see as much from Dana White in the UFC anymore, though, because it's definitely kind of embarrassing to announce a fight formally and then have to backtrack and say that the fight itself was never even booked. Like, come on, son. I guess that just about does it with the news. Actually, what's coming up next is a interview, which will not be live. I actually recorded it last week after Mr. Aljamain Sterling finished up training. He is a son of a bitch at 135. Just go on the YouTubes and search Aljamain Sterling. That's Aljamain Sterling. Or follow him on Twitter at FunkmasterAljo. That's FunkMasterAljo. Yeah, he really is a son of a bitch, man. He is so good. Check out his reel. Watch him knock people out, sub people, tweet Dana White, talk to Sean Shelby, tell him to sign this motherfucker because he should be in the UFC soon. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the roughly 22-minute long interview with myself and hot bantamweight prospect out of New York, Aljamain Sterling. And we got Aljamain Sterling, like we promised, here on the show. First and foremost, how are you doing, man?
Doing good. I'm doing good. It's been a great weekend.
Word. Yeah, take us through an average day in the life of Aljamain Sterling.
An average day, that's typically, I usually just go to rehab right before my first workout session for the day. I usually have a little downtime, then I'm usually coaching. As of right now, I haven't coached, but I do have a coaching position lined up back at my high school, so I'm going to start doing that again, and then right after that, I'll just be heading right over to the gym again, and usually get my second or third workout in for the night.
Coaching wrestling?
Yeah, I'm coaching back at my high school, which is it's awesome. It's right down the block from my house, so it's very, very convenient.
Word, yeah. I kind of want to go back to your younger years. You come from a big family of 20 kids. I'm an only child. I can't really relate. What was that like?
Man, it was crazy growing up with so many people in the household. There would be times, for the most part, we'd be actually fighting for attention. So a lot of things, if we seen somebody get something, we'd pretty much try to fight to make sure we got noticed and say, hey, we want that too, or we want something better, just to try to get the one up on each other. And yeah, there was a lot of fights throughout my childhood, but it was fun. I actually didn't like my family very much growing up until I actually went away and came back, and I started to put more stock into the whole family thing and realized that things weren't actually as bad as I thought it was when I was growing up. And they actually did things for certain reasons, and yeah, it's cool. It's cool that I can actually talk to my brothers and sisters now and actually see that they aren't all evil, to say.
Yeah, I'm sure a whole bunch of us, age 18, you graduate, you want to get the hell out, but then you're like 23, 24, our age, and we're like, man, I really miss home and not paying bills and all that awesome stuff. But yeah, you started in basketball, and sophomore year, you and I both, we got cut from the high school basketball team. I didn't choose wrestling, but you chose to change it up to wrestling. Did you have a rude awakening moment when you first started wrestling and realized how difficult it really was?
No, it's actually kind of weird because I didn't want to wrestle because I'm not gonna lie, in the beginning I did not understand it. The coach actually wanted me to come out freshman year, and I was like, man, I did not understand what the hell these guys are out there doing. There's no way you could get me in one of those little leotard things. So that was my mindset freshman year. So I didn't do it, and I was dead set on basketball because my doctor told me you're gonna be 6 foot tall, and I'm like, yeah, man, I'm gonna be a basketball player in the NBA and all this, that, and third. But yeah, when I actually first came down there, it wasn't as bad because before that, we actually had this thing where I'm from. It's called Body Up, where it's like a mutual agreement to kind of just go Greco-Roman rules, where we're just trying to grab each other by the jeans and slam each other on the ground. So it's kind of like a battle of strength and see who was the biggest man around the way, around your size. And so I kind of went that route when I went off to my first wrestling practice. And I got taken down a lot, but I was able to ragdoll a few guys and get them down to the ground. And it was cool at the end, right at the end of that practice. my coach asked me, he said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Man, yo, I don't know why I didn't do this since freshman year." I was like, "This is mad fun. This is mad cool. I don't know why I didn't do this." But yeah, I fell in love with it that day.
Word. Yeah, you were very, very successful wrestling in college. You know, how do you think you were able to find such success, especially in the collegiate ranks, in a sport you didn't really compete in until you were in high school?
I was just dedicated, man. In my freshman and sophomore year, I gotta admit I didn't take it as serious because I was naturally talented, I guess is what people call it. You know, I guess I just had something where I don't know, I was just naturally good at it, I guess. And I would win a lot of matches, but I wasn't beating those guys who were in the top 10, top 15 bracket. And there was a reason for that. I wasn't putting in the time. And later on, my coach told me, he said, if you want to be good and you want to beat those guys, this is what you have to do. And I told him to tell me everything I got to do. And that's entire all season I did that. And the next season came back, and I ended up getting D3 Wrestler of the Week. I won the Ithaca Open Tournament, which I could not even get out of the first round before in the past 2 years, and I got MOW that year in that tournament. And from there, it just kind of just took off, and it's the rest is history.
Yeah, and we have seen in mixed martial arts, to change it over to that topic. You know, wrestlers have been so successful from, you know, making the change from college to MMA. When did you realize you wanted to start to work towards a career in mixed martial arts?
I didn't really realize it until I actually tried it. I knew Jones, and that's through Mooresville, and I saw a few pictures of him on MySpace with the gloves on and everything. You know, I watched it a couple times on TV, but I didn't really know what to think about it. You know, I never really say, hey, man, I definitely want to do that. And then when I saw that he was doing it, I knew he was a good wrestler. I was like, you know, what do you think about it? Where are you training? He told me he was training in Cortland, which was right where I was going to school, because I had just transferred. And I was like, yeah, man, I'd definitely like to come down and check it out. Like, he didn't believe that I was going to come down. Came down the very next day, and ever since then, I just never really stopped training. And I don't know, I just really, really like it. I just like being competitive. I think that competitive aspect of a sport is what I don't know what to call it. I'm more driven to that area, whether it be judo, any type of one-on-one combat sport, wrestling, karate, anything. I just like that one-on-one combat aspect.
Yeah, you mentioned you've known John Jones for a while now. How surreal has it been to watch, you know, your former wrestling partner John Jones go from JUCO wrestler to the pound for pound king in mixed martial arts?
Yeah, it was very surreal, man. I loved it. It was when I first saw that he was doing so well. I was like, man, this guy. I said he would do well from the jump, just because I knew what kind of a phenom he was on the wrestling mat. And people didn't really believe it. And I was like, man, you guys don't understand. This guy just picks everything up and just kind of just goes out there and just does whatever he sees, and it just looks awesome, like he's been doing it for a while. And after he won the belt, and like you said, he's a pound for pound, I guess, #1 ranked guy in MMA right now, and it's very inspiring. It lets me know that I could do the same exact thing if I just keep putting in the time and keep working.
If not, if not for John Jones, do you think you would have gotten into MMA?
That's a tough question, but I do think I would have at some point. I'm not exactly sure when. I think it's more so that I ended up going away to school. I think if I had stayed home, and like I said, because of my family, it's actually why I wanted to move away, because I was like, man, I got to get the hell out of this house. And I was thinking, man, if I ended up staying and going to Nassau, which I could have ended up going to school for free instead of paying all that money, and now I got to pay all that money back in loans, I probably would have ended up meeting up with Ike Quinna and those guys over at Ray Longo's probably sooner than what I did now. So I don't know. It all depends, but I'm pretty happy the way the cards played out. So I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, I definitely know that student loan game. Jones, Jones has had a pretty odd reaction from most fans, being a fan favorite up until the last couple years, around the time he won the belt, where a lot of people have turned their backs on him, and now he's not nearly as liked as he was. Do do you have any theories on why Jones has suffered in the eyes of public opinion so much?
And from my personal opinion, what I've seen with that, I think it's because I know the guy, and what how he kind of portrayed himself in the media was kind of just like, dude, it comes off really, really, fake. It's just like, that's not really how you are. And, even though you try to portray that image, you kind of see through, I guess anyone with common sense can kind of see through that and see like, man, I don't know, there's something up with this guy. It just doesn't seem natural. It just doesn't seem to flow out of him to get, I guess, like I said, the way he portrayed himself. So I think that's the real issue what people have with him. But I think now he's starting to open up and kind of like, man, I don't care. I'm going to say whatever I want to now. And I think people are kind of like more, I guess, open to that. So he hasn't been bashed as much as he has in the past. So I think he's kind of going the natural route and just being himself, just saying what he has to say, and just being regular John instead of trying to please everybody. You can't please everybody, man. Eventually, someone's going to hate you for some reason. They're just going to find something about you that they don't like. They don't like the way you brush your hair, or they don't like the way you tie your laces or wear your pants, or, that's just how people are. People want something to hate, or they want something to love.
Aljamain, I don't like the way you brush your hair. Do you still
I brush
you
it to the
still
side.
do you still talk and keep up with John?
Actually, no. We've see. I don't want to sound like yeah. See, this is weird. That's a tough question. I mean, if I seen him, it would be no problems. It would just be like hi and bye, and that, it'd be that kind of a thing. To kind of just, make it an easy answer. But for the most part, he's a lot different than how he was before. Obviously, you got kids, you got family, so I understand it. But certain things that he's done is kind of just like, I don't really respect it. But that's just me. And yeah, I'm more so a man of my word. If I say I'm going to do something, let's just say I'm going to do it. And when you say you're going to do something and you don't do it more than 2-3 times, it's just kind of like, I don't really know if I want to be bothered with that. Just leave you alone, let you do your own thing. It's kind of like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well. Talking about doing what you say you're gonna do, you have walked into the cage 8 times now as a pro fighter,
yeah.
and you are now 8-0 after your recent fight, with your last 3 fights all ending by rear naked choke. Do you think you're ready for the UFC if they made the call today?
Honestly, I do think I'm ready. I wasn't sure if I was ready yet because I just haven't had a chance to really show my stand-up and show what I could do. But at this point, I'm just like, man, if I'm doing what I'm doing and it's working, I'm not going to fix it, and I'm just going to keep doing it until someone can prove that I need to switch my game up or something. But honestly, I'm ready. I don't see what else is there for me to do on a regional circuit. But, I mean, if someone wants to step up and fight me, I'll fight them. But at this point, I'm ready for the big leagues, man. I'm ready.
Yeah, if anyone has seen his highlight tape and doesn't think he's ready for the UFC, they obviously don't know the sport very well. I assume if they did make the call, you would stay at a bantamweight. Do you have any opponents that jump out to mind at 135 in the UFC if you were to sign a contract with them today?
And no specific opponent right now. I mean, that's the thing with the UFC. You never know who on earth they're gonna match you up with. But I mean, it's just one of those things where you just gotta be well adapted and well rounded enough to fight any of those opponents. So at this point, I don't want to say I want this guy and then I get that guy. So I just whenever that does happen, if it does happen sooner or later, I just fight whoever, man. Just gotta go out there and get it done because they ain't no picking and choosing at that level,
Yeah. You recently made the move to join a camp where a lot of successful UFC fighters have joined. That's the Serra-Longo camp. How has your preparation changed for fights since joining, both mentally and physically?
Well, physically, I have structure throughout the entire week. I think that was like the main thing that I was kind of lacking before. I was kind of drawing up my own workouts for the majority of the week, which was kind of tough because sometimes I'm just like, man, this would be so much easier if someone was kind of guiding you and actually there the entire time watching over what you're doing to making sure you're doing what you're supposed to do. I think that's the real significance of having a team around you, and it kind of just boosts your confidence mentally and physically, and lets you know you're ready. And I think that's the biggest difference. And like I was telling this other guy before, it just gives you a mental. Those guys are mentally, not even mental. They give you a lot of positive reinforcement, so to say. So when you're doing something right, you know you're doing it right. And if you're not doing it right, they're gonna tell you, listen, man, you're not doing it right, and they'll make sure you're doing that and fixing every little thing that you need fixed. And it helps, and I think it really showed in my fight last weekend.
Yeah, I kind of want to talk about, because I have heard two big philosophies as far as training for a camps. There is just training on your weak skills and not really worrying about the other guy, and there's obviously worrying about the other guy and building a game plan. Are you more of the guy who goes and trains and doesn't even think about the dude you're fighting and just trying to make yourself better, or are you stepping in knowing the guy you're fighting like the palm of your hand?
I try to do a little bit of both, but for the most part, I definitely do worry about what the guy is going to do. Sometimes I think I may do what they call a paralysis by analysis, and I kind of go drive myself nuts with that. And I really, really worry about it so much to the point where it kind of drives me crazy. And my trainers since I've been here, they've told me that's the first thing. That's like one of the first things they notice from me. And they say, listen, dude, you need to just go out there and just do your thing. If you sit there and worry about what this guy is going to do the entire time, you're not going to end up doing anything whatsoever. So it's kind of a little mixture of both. For the most part, we get an idea of what the guy wants to do, and we kind of just say, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're aware of this. We're aware that he's good at that. And it's kind of like, still go out there and do your own thing, but just make sure you're wary that this is something that he likes to do. And it's kind of one of those things. So it's not really any specific side, I guess. It's kind of like a mixture of both.
Yeah, another Serra-Longo product, Chris Weidman. He's preparing for the biggest rematch in UFC history against Anderson Silva. Do you have any insight to his camp that maybe we haven't heard about yet and you're comfortable talking about?
Long live the champ. Chris is he's a workhorse, man. He's gonna go out there and just put it on him again. I mean, I love Anderson Silva. I love watching him fight, but Chris just has his number. In my book, he has his number. He's just going to go out there and get it done again. I think we're going to see another finish, and people are going to see this time that it wasn't no lucky punch, and Chris went out there and actually did what he was supposed to do: get in and get out. And there's nothing special he's doing. He's just working hard and preparing to be the best Chris Weidman, because Anderson Silva is going to come back, looking to try to make a comeback statement. But I know Chris. If anybody seen the way this guy works, you'll see that this guy he's not losing anytime soon. He's too focused, too hungry.
Yeah. Another Serra-Longo guy, Al Iaquinta, just won last weekend in England. He's won 2 in a row now. I actually think he's got the grit to maybe be a top 10 lightweight. What do you think's next for him? You think they should toss him, a guy in the top 15, top 20? What do you think about Al?
He's another workhorse, man. I don't know what they're gonna give him next, but I definitely think he would do well against any one of those top 20, top 15, or even a top 10 guy. I think Al's right there with those guys, and he could definitely win those matchups. And I think I think people are going to be very surprised when they see him again. He's going to show a brand new form, and he's going to come back even stronger. He hasn't been able to finish his last two guys. I think it was just him being a little bit smart and trying to stay out of a bad position, because Piotr tough. Ryan Couture, he's tough. And he had them both dead to rights at one point, but I think he's just smart. He knows that those guys are still dangerous in certain situations, and he didn't rush to go in for it just to try to get the finish. But he could have definitely finished those guys, and I think you guys are going to see a much better Ally Quinter the next time he goes out there.
Hell yeah, I totally agree. Just a couple more non-MMA questions before we let you go. I did creep your Twitter a little bit. Saw you were a New York Giants fan. I'm a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. Both of our teams not good seasons. We know what's wrong with the Bucs and a horrible coach. But you all seem to have the pieces. Coughlin's a good coach. You got Eli, Vic Cruz, a pretty solid defense. What is wrong with the New York Giants this season, son?
I really have no idea. In the beginning of the season, I really felt like it was the O-line, because they weren't giving Eli enough time back there to throw the ball, and then there was some games that we were so close to winning. I was like, all right, we're going to break the streak. And then he just goes up and tosses a duck up there, and two possessions where we're down 14 points when we were down. It was a one-possession game. I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. How does this guy do that? But I don't know. I definitely blamed it on the line. But for the most part, it seemed like those guys weren't playing. I don't think everyone was playing for each other, kind of just playing for themselves. And I think that's a big part of it. But who knows, man? I still think with our weak conference, we could probably come back and end up stealing it. So I don't know. We'll see what happens later on in this crazy downside season.
For sure, yeah. I mean, this is the perfect kind of season where the NFC East is never too good. I totally could see the Giants winning out, making a wild card spot, and winning the Super Bowl, because that's just what the Giants seem to always do. They start 2-7, and then hey, we won a Super Bowl. But final question: Halloween was just about a week and a half ago. Last week we had Michelle Old on. She said she dressed up as a gynecologist for Halloween. What did you dress up as, and what is Aljamain Sterling's favorite scary movie?
Man, it kind of sucked. I didn't get to dress up just because of the fight. I was too focused on the fight, and I didn't want to seem like I was taking anything too lightly. I'm one of those guys, once I get it in my head, I'm like, man, I don't think my opponent is dressing up right now. I'm not going to dress up. I'm going to sit here, I'm going to sit home, and I'm going to train. I get kind of crazy like that sometimes. But, yeah, my favorite scary movie would probably be the Friday the 13th series. I like those guys. That's it. What is it? Jason? Not Jason. Freddy Krueger.
Yeah. I think it's Jason's got the hockey mask. Yeah.
The Nightmare. Honestly, that's the other series.
Yeah.
I like both those series, but I'm more of the Freddy Krueger guy.
Word. I'm a Michael Myers guy. Well, man, thank you so much. Before we let you go, do you have any plugs, shout-outs? Definitely follow his Twitter, which doesn't come straight to mind. But, yeah, you have any plugs or anything?
No, just keep listening. Shout out to Goalie Vodka. They actually sponsored me last minute for my fight. And hopefully you guys get to see me fight again soon, and hopefully it's in the big show.
Yeah, the Twitter is Funkmaster Aljo, Funkmaster ALJO, and go ahead and tweet at Dana White and Sean Shelby. Tell them you want the funk. Tell them you want Aljamain Sterling in the UFC, and we really hope down the line, once you are in UFC, we'll have a chance to chat it up again, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And there he goes, Mr. Aljamain Sterling. Unfortunately, toward the latter part of the interview during the live stream went out, so we were out for a little bit. We did come back, though. We came back and broke down UFC 137. 137, 167. I'm doing all this in post. We came back, we broke down UFC 167, so without any further ado, here is that last segment of the show. To that, a lot of very interesting things he said about his career, former training partner John Jones, a lot of stuff, but the MMA podcast, the wheels are back on. We're rolling, cocksuckers, and we're ready to break down UFC 167. This is the event that's going to commemorate the UFC's 20th anniversary. It's headlined by the welterweight championship, George St-Pierre taking on Johnny Hendricks, our boy Chael Sonnen taking on Rashad Evans in the co-main. We will get to those fights toward the end of the breakdown, but a couple other quick notes. Rafael Natal was originally supposed to fight Ed Herman on the prelims. He was pulled out to face Tim Kennedy when Machida got pulled to that fight to face Mark Munoz, all because of the Michael Bisping eye injury. So that was sort of the end of the domino row here as far as Herman and ladies goes. And also Vaughn Lee was pulled from the Sergio Pettis fight, and Pettis will now be facing Will Campuzano. Also, we were going to see Donald Cerrone and Frank Mir, but they have been moved to UFC 169. They won't be fighting on the main card of this event. Let's start off with the prelims. We have the Kansas City Bandit Jason High taking on Anthony Lapsley. Like I mentioned, Will Campuzano taking on Sergio Pettis, not at flyweight but at bantamweight. Also a light heavyweight battle between the touted Gian Vellante taking on Cody Donovan. What do you see going down? I have Vellante, Pettis, and High. What about y'all?
These are some very good fights. The guys you need to look out for here are John Vellante, and first of all, God is here, by the way. I forgot to state that. God has made his return to the... what happened was Ross, he left after the shit crapped out before, and Anyway, God is here, and it probably sounds really weird for all the people who are listening on YouTube and iTunes, but the people you need to look out for, they are Pettis, Will Campuzano, and John Vellante. The Pettis fight is actually a lot closer than people will realize. This is a tougher fight than Vaughn Lee for him, because Will is a killer. He's one hell of a fighter. He's a really good flyweight. Both guys are really good flyweights, yet they're fighting each other at bantamweight, so it's a little interesting. Sergio has never lost a fight. He's got 4 amateur fights. He won them all. He's got 9 professional fights. He's won them all. He's 20 years old. He is a monster. Will, he's also a monster, but he does have losses. He was released from the UFC. Since then, he's gone on like a 4 or 5 fight winning streak, and he's looked great. So this is a very, very interesting fight. I don't know who's going to win. I'm leaning Pettis right now, but this is a lot closer than people truly realize. John Vellante, he's the man. I love John Vellante. He is a teammate of Chris Weidman. He's one of the guys over there at Serra-Longo. He is actually a pretty damn good fighter, and he is improving dramatically. He's one hell of an athlete, and look for him to absolutely, positively beat the shit out of Cody Donovan on Saturday night.
Yeah, a really quick note before Alan chimes in. I thought it was pretty funny. The interview, the systems went down. I had to save everything and restart everything, and everything cut out. There were 2 people still listening in on the live stream on the Ustream page. And when we started back up, I guess the 2 people had just left tabs open. We started back up, and within a minute, it went down to 1, meaning that half of our audience prefers listening to silence than they like listening to the MMA podcast, which I'm very flattered by. Alan, what are your thoughts on the YouTube prelim fights?
I hope Jason High wins really quick and decisively. Pettis, I don't know. who knows, whatever. And Cody Donovan versus John Vellante. Cody Donovan's probably going to come out to like some epic Irish music like he did at UFC Fox Sports 1 Boston and get KO'd from the guard again. So, yeah, not much going on here except for some Sarah Longer guys getting wins and chasing high, redeeming himself, trying to go to, 2 fights in a row win streak and possibly get that rematch with Eric Silva.
Word up. Yeah, we will move from the 3 Facebook and YouTube prelim fights to we're going to fit in the flyweight fight with Tim Elliott and Ali Bagatuna to the Fox Sports 1 prelims. But let's talk about those 5 fights. Really quickly, we have a bantamweight fight between Eric Perez, who had strung up a real long 8-fight winning streak before losing to Takeya Mizugaki via split decision back just in August. He's taking on Edwin Figueroa, who's also coming off 2 losses to Francisco Rivera and Ronald Delorme. We also have a welterweight fight. Another guy who had a huge streak going before a recent loss was Brian Ebersol. He actually had like a 10 or 11 fight streak going until he lost to James Head. That was all the way back July 2012. Back at UFC 149, also a split decision lost. He is going to be taking on a guy who even he called a brick, and Rick Story. We're talking about guys who had long streaks. He was on a 6-fight streak, beat Dustin Hazlitt when he was still kind of the shit, beat Johnny Hendricks, beat Thiago Alves. Since then, he's 2-4, losses to Charlie Brenneman, Martin Kampman, Damian Maia, and Mike Pyle, and really has only beaten guys like Brock Jardine and Quinn Mulhern. A win against Brian would definitely help vault him back up the ranks, and Brian's just trying to put on the skids from that loss to James Head. He might be a little rusty as he hasn't fought in nearly a year and a half. We'll move on to a middleweight fight between Ed Herman and Thales Lates. Like I mentioned, it was originally supposed to be Ed Herman versus Rafael Natal. Herman's coming off a win to Trevor Smith. Thales, he's beaten 4 guys in a row. He beat Tortrong back at the Superior Challenge in Stockholm, Sweden. He made his UFC re-debut at UFC 163 in August, beating Tom Watson via unanimous decision. Moving back to the lightweights, this is going to be Donald Cerrone's last fight at lightweight before he moves down to 145. He's sort of been on a win-loss streak. He beat Melvin Gillard back at UFC 150 in Denver, lost to Pettis, brutal TKO to Pettis. Beat Nunes at UFC 160 and just did not look like himself at all, taking on RDA back in August, that Condit Kampman 2 card. We'll see if he's able to rebound against a guy who's also coming off a loss against Rafael Dos Anjos, Evan Dunham. He's sort of done the same win-loss thing. He beat Lentz, lost to current, I guess you can call him, number 1 contender at lightweight, TJ Grant. Then he beat Gleison Tebow before losing, like Donald Cerrone did, via unanimous decision to Rafael Dos Anjos. Finally, what's going to be the first fight of the main card, Tim Elliott taking on Ali Bagatuna. I call him Bagatuna because I'm racist. Tim, you look at his record, and he has one of those kind of funny records where he started off horrible. He started off and his record was 0 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw. So he was winless in his first 3 fights. Since then, he's gone 10-1, been climbing up the flyweight ranks. His only loss to John Dodson back last year at that UFC on Fox card. His last 2 fights, he's won via unanimous decision against Jared Papazian and Louis Gaudino. He's taken on Ali Bagatuna, who also is on a 9-fight winning streak, beat Marcos Vinicius via TKO in his UFC debut just back in September at that Teixeira Bader card. All of these fights, Oh, we didn't mention Ross Allen and myself will be there live. We're going to be doing a final round podcast in Vegas, so follow us all to keep up with that at the MMA podcast, at Ross Finkelstein, E before the L, and at Westland Eagle AH. So yeah, we're all pumped about seeing this live. But what do you think about these 5 fights? Who do you see prevailing, cocksuckers?
Well, let me tell you, my people. I believe that Eric Perez will destroy Edwin Figueroa. Edwin Figueroa really has nothing to offer the very well-rounded, very tough, and very young Eric Perez, who's got a very bright future ahead of him and will contend for the UFC belt one day. He looked actually good. It's rare you can look good in defeat, but he actually looked relatively good against Takei Mizugaki, even though he lost that fight. Young guy who stepped up to a big challenge and took it to him. So all the credit to Eric Perez. Brian Ebersol is a great fighter. Love the guy. It's awesome to watch. But he's been out for so long. And Rick Story, like he said, is a brick. Rick Story is going to come forward and just be in his face and punch him in the face. Bad style matchup for him, I believe. I think Story beats him. Maybe even finishes him with strikes. As far as the other fights go, Ed Herman and Talis Ladies, that's a really good one. I was looking at the odds on that fight, and I actually like Ed Herman there. Ed Herman is an underdog in that fight, and I will parlay him with a couple other people. I'll get to that in a little while, but I do like Ed Herman in that fight. That is a really good fight, though, and the winner of that fight will move far up the middleweight ladder and will probably fight someone right out, either like number 11, number 12 in the division, or someone in the top 10. So that's a big fight for both those guys. And then the main event, you could say, of the Fox Sports 1 prelims, the Dunham-Cerrone fight. Love that one. Most people are picking Donald Cerrone. I think that's bad. I think Evan Dunham beats Cerrone. I think Cerrone has looked like utter shit lately. And I think Evan Dunham is very underrated. I thought Evan Dunham beat Rafael Dos Anjos. I thought that was a terrible, terrible decision. I thought he won essentially all 3 rounds of that fight. I watched it the other night. So I think Evan Dunham defeats Donald Cerrone, and hopefully he'll get the respect he deserves after he does it. And as far as Tim Elliott versus Bagel Tuna goes, Bagel Tuna...
Bag of tuna.
Bag of tuna or bagel tuna? Or
I think both.
Tuna?
Both probably work.
Muhammad Ali looked really bad in his last fight, so I mean, he got the finish over Marcos Vinicius, but he struggled with him. Tim Elliott's a huge guy, big guy for the weight class. Very, very good, very well-rounded, very unorthodox too. He's got a very weird style. This is a guy who's got victories over like Jens Pulver and had a very close fight with John Dotson, which I saw live. Great scrap, great scrap. He's someone who we need to look out for because he's going to contend for. He's already contending for that title, but he'll actually be fighting for the belt very relatively soon. I think this will put him pretty much a fight away from that belt or fighting for that belt. So I think Tim Elliott wins this fight. Tim Elliott will dance circles around Muhammad Ali, bag of tuna.
Muhammad Ali, bag of tuna. Alan Hamilton, what do you think about these prelims?
The fight that I'm really looking forward to out of these prelims is the Herman fight. After his last fight, man, it was so entertaining watching him and Trevor Smith go at it that, you know, I really hope that he brings like the same mentality and, you know, just comes forward and just throws bombs, and it's just an entertaining fight that he sacrifices his, you know, body for us, the fans, for our entertainment. Yeah, the Cerrone Dunham fight, man, I really don't want to pick a winner. I agree with Ross. Dunham, you know, he won his last fight, even though he didn't get the judge's nod. Even Chael Sonnen agreed with us that, he beat Dos Anjos. And if he beat Dos Anjos, then I think he can beat Cerrone. Brian Ebersol coming off of a 1.5-year layoff, man. What can I say? I don't really know, man. It could go either way. Story, we've seen him take people to the ground and, succumb to the pressure of the superior grappling style of other fighters like Damian Maia. So I'm not trying to say Brian Ebersol is Damian Maia-esque, but, he does have some skills. And Eric Perez is probably going to knock out Figueroa. Let's just be honest. And Tim Elliott put on a hell of a fight against Luis Gaudinot. And that's probably why he's getting the nod to be on this pay-per-view open spot. So, yeah.
Do you have something to say, Ross?
Yeah, I wanted to praise Evan Dunham a little more because I feel that he deserves it. Evan Dunham's a guy who, he's got a record of 14-4, but it's really deceiving because 3 of those losses, 3 which are decision losses, you could say he won. First of all, he won the Sean Shirk fight. Everyone thinks he won that fight. That was just a horrible, horrible decision. The TJ Grant fight was a very close fight. And even though he was busted up, you could say he won that fight also. That was very, very close. Great, great fight. The Rafael dos Anjos fight, he should have gotten the decision there. He was robbed in that one. So realistically, if you really look at it, the only true loss on his record is that loss to Melvin Gillard where he was TKO'd. And that was a weird fight. And I believe he runs circles around Melvin today. So people need to give Evan Dunham the respect he deserves, and I really hope he can put together a string of wins without any robberies and hopefully get to a title shot at some point, because he was relatively close in 2010. I mean, in 2011 too, they gave him Melvin Gillard back in the beginning of 2011, which was a big fight for him. Even though he had lost the fight to Sean Shirk, he was on a 4-fight winning streak before that, and he had beaten Tyson Griffin, he had beaten Efrain Escudero. So he's done big things, and people need to respect Evan Dunham.
I totally agree, and Dunham is going up against a Cerrone that did not look like the usual Cerrone that we've usually seen when he fought Rafael dos Anjos. And if I didn't mention my picks earlier, they are Perez, Story, Dunham, Lates, and Tim Elliott. Even though I will be rooting for Donald and Ali on behalf of my buddies Chris and Jay. All right, let's move on. We are going to break the main 4 fights down one by one, and this first fight, man, this is going to be a very close fight. It's two guys with a ton of talent who just haven't really been doing well. Both have lost 2 of their last 3. Woodley lost to Marquardt in that Strikeforce welterweight championship via KO, then beat Jay Heron in his UFC debut at UFC 156, and then most recently lost to Jake Shields in June 2013. Koscheck beat Pierce back in February 2012. He's lost twice since, a split decision to Johnny Hendricks and a TKO loss to Robbie Lawler back in February. I was actually looking up odds just out of curiosity, and it actually looks like on sites like 5 Dimes, both of these guys have the exact same odds. It's pretty much a pick'em fight. It is going to be really close. Both of them have kind of similar styles. I think Josh is probably a little bit more skilled standing up, but both of them are awesome wrestlers. And the loser is going to be in a very awkward spot of losing 3 of his last 4. The winner obviously will be on the way back up. What do you guys think about this fight? What do you think goes down? Who is your winner?
Very, very close fight again. Very, very good stylistic matchup. You got 2 very good wrestlers with lots of power in their hands. Koscheck is more experienced in the UFC. He's more experienced in MMA in general. But in his last fight, he was finished by Robbie Lawler, which no one saw coming. So I think people are reading into that Robbie loss a little too much and writing off Koscheck too much, just because he's on a 2-fight losing streak, the first time in his career that he's been on a 2-fight losing streak. But if you look at the guys he's lost to, it's Hendricks and Robbie Lawler. Now, Robbie Lawler, who's fighting the same night against Rory McDonald, is basically a fight or two away from a title shot. I mean, if he knocks out Rory, shit, he may very well get the next title shot. Dana loves him. He's Dana White's hitman, I like to say. So it's a very interesting fight here. And I think this fight, I've been flip-flopping on who wins. Originally, I said Koscheck will win this fight. Then recently, I've been saying Woodley will win this fight. I'm now leaning more towards Koscheck winning this fight. Woodley struggled with Jake Shields. And to me, if you're going to struggle with Jake Shields, you're going to struggle a lot more with Josh Koscheck. Josh Koscheck's more aggressive than Jake Shields. Jake Shields, yeah, sure, he's got that great grappling, and he grabs a hold of your leg and then dry humps you and awkwardly holds your leg and hopes you fall down. Josh Koscheck doesn't do that, and Josh Koscheck is a better striker than him. I think Koscheck is a better striker all around. I think he's more well-rounded with his striking than Woodley. Woodley has definitely got the power, but Koscheck, I think, is a better striker in general. I think Koscheck ends up winning this fight, split decision, something like that. But yeah, this is a very, very good stylistic matchup. And like you said, the winner's in a pretty awkward position, because for Woodley, if he loses, that's 2 straight losses in the UFC, albeit the first one was controversial, but that's 2 straight losses in the UFC. That'll be 3 of his last 4 that he's lost. And for Koscheck, that'll be a 3-fight losing streak. And already a guy who Dana White has said is a dick. That being said, I have a hard time seeing Dana cutting him, even if he loses 3 straight, because those freaking early tough seasons, man, that tough one cast, you can't get rid of them.
Alan, Woodley versus Koscheck.
Yeah, at first glance, a lot of people might want to, swing the same way and say that Woodley's going to knock Koscheck out just like Lawler did. But as we've seen from Woodley's fights, it depends on what Tyrone Woodley shows up to fight. Is it the Tyrone Woodley that showed up to fight Nate Marquardt, or is it the type of Tyrone Woodley that shows up and fights Jake Shields? So I think if he shows up and fights like he did when he fought Jake Shields, he's going to get pointed out and, just taken down and dominated by Koscheck. But I think the key is if he comes out like he did against Heron, and he comes out like he did against Marquardt, and, he's willing to let himself go and, trade punches, I think he catches Koscheck and knocks him out. But, it just depends on which Woodley comes out.
Which Woodley is going to come out. It's going to be very, very interesting. And, even on the flip side, which Koscheck will come out, because, Kos, he had a title shot just, 2.5, 3 years ago, and then he beat Hughes, beat Pierce, was looking like he was rising back up, and then he lost to Johnny, which, you can't really hold a split decision loss to the current number 2 guy that much against him. But then he got, TKO'd against Lawler. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top. Let's move on to, speaking of Robbie Lawler, another welterweight fight where Robbie Lawler is going to be taking on Rory McDonald, who's riding a 5-fight win streak against 5 impressive guys: Nate Diaz, Mike Pyle, Shea Mills, BJ Penn, and Jake Ellenberger. Lawler was sort of on a rocky road leaving Strikeforce. Lost to Sobral, beat Lindland, lost to Jacare, lost to Kennedy, beat Amagov, lost to Larkin, returned to welterweight, and that's really when he's turned it back on. He's defeated both Koscheck and Bobby Volker via KO or TKO within 5.5 minutes of each fight at UFC 157 and that UFC on Fox Johnson Moraga card. Guy is on a tear. A lot of people said he didn't deserve the fight against Rory. I think he very much did. He looks impressive as shit at welterweight. And this is a fight that is a lot closer than a lot of people are giving it credit. If I'm definitely going to be rooting for Robbie, but if I had to make an unbiased pick, I might still go with Rory. But man, this is closer than a lot of people are giving it credit. Ross Allen, what do y'all think?
I love this fight. Robbie Lawler, Dana White's hitman. He is out for blood. Dana sent him after Rory McDonald because Rory McDonald had the shittiest fight in the history of fights against Jake Ellenberger back in July. And he refuses to fight GSP, which is another thing. He wants to rid the world of Rory McDonald, my apologies. But like you said, this is a tough fight for Robbie, and it's a tough fight for Rory. Stylistically, this is a very good stylistic matchup. Rory, honestly, he needs to do a couple things. He needs to utilize his jab, needs to keep Robbie on the outside. He needs to take Robbie down, make sure he gets Robbie on his back, which are going to be very difficult tasks. Robbie is a guy who's going to blitz. He's going to come forward. He's going to throw bombs. And it's going to be interesting to see how Rory reacts to that. Can Rory react well, or will he get flustered and get hit and go down? Because one thing that is for sure, if Robbie Lawler connects on Rory McDonald with one of those punches that he has, with that power that he has, it's game over for Rory McDonald. It's lights out. He's going to sleep. He knocked out Koscheck, he knocked out Bobby Volker. He's got other knockouts on his. I mean, let's go back in time. I mean, this guy who's knocked out Melvin Manoff, a guy who's knocked out Frank Trigg, a guy who's knocked out Matt Lindland. All just brutal knockouts. He's such a devastating hitter. Scott Smith, another one. Ninja Hua, another one. So this is a stylistically fun fight, just like the Koscheck fight, another really good style matchup, and I'm excited to see it. I'm leaning Robbie. I'm biased, I will admit, but I am leaning Robbie in this one. I think Robbie can get it done. He's got to blitz him. He's got to come forward. He's got to hit him with those shots. It's definitely a big upset pick there, but yeah, I'm going with Robbie Lawler. Bold prediction.
The Jew with the upset prediction. What do you think, Alan?
I hope that Rory McDonald dies.
Very succinct breakdown. Let's move on to the co-main event. Our boy Chael Sonnen taking on Rashad Evans. Chael, talk as much shit about the guy as you want. You got to look at the facts, and the facts are, since UFC 95, February 2009, since that loss to Damian Maia, he has fought 10 times, 9 times. The only two people he has lost to since then are the two maybe greatest fighters of all time, and John Jones and Anderson Silva. He choked out Shogun. He UD'd Bisping. He choked out Stan. He beat Nate. He beat Yushin. He is a incredible fighter, and a fighter people just don't give him enough credit for. And he's taken on Rashad Evans, who he sort of like Chael has lost 2 of his last 3, but is coming off a win. Rashad lost to Jones also, and he also lost to Little Nog in what was sort of a bizarre fight where they just sort of did this sparring thing the entire time, just flared little tiny jabs out. It was really weird. But Little Nog won, and then Evans came out pretty flat again to Dan Henderson. He cannot come out as flat as he did in his last two fights versus Chael. Chael, you said about Robbie Lawler, like you said about Rick Story, both of these guys keep coming forward, and that is exactly what Chael's going to do against a Rashad who hasn't really been doing a lot of walking forward in his last couple fights. This is another fight. It's I think currently the Vegas odds are Shad minus 175 and Chael plus 155. Man, this is going to be a close fight. I think Shad has a little bit of an edge standing up. Sonnen though really has looked great on the mat, choking out Shogun. I think when it's grappling, whether it's the clinch, dirty boxing, wrestling, I think Sonnen has a little bit of an advantage, even though Evans has incredible wrestling, like we saw when he fought Phil Davis. Ross, what do you think the People's Champion Chael Sonnen taking on Rashad Evans?
Well, for this one, I got to turn the echo off because I got to make it a little different. All right, the bias me, I'm just going to get the bias me out of the way. Chael Sonnen beats the shit out of him. It's no doubt. He knocks him out in the first round. It's bloody. 1000%. It's brutal. Chael leaves that arena all the way to the bank. Anyway, the unbiased me says this is a very, very, very close fight. This is the closest fight on the card. And this is no easy task for either guy. As a big Chael fan, I can honestly say this fight has me worried. But if I was a Rashad fan, I'd be worried also. This is a very, very tough one. Rashad Evans, he was an absolute monster at one point. Even though he had the one loss to Machida, bounced back from that, fought Jones, and ever since he fought Jones, he just hasn't been the same. Looked like crap against... Honestly, he kind of looked like crap. After that first round, he just completely changed against Jones. He looked like crap for the rest of those rounds, and that's nothing to be ashamed of. John Jones he's the pound for pound best fighter in the world today, so it's nothing to be ashamed of. The Little Nog fight, that was pathetic. That was just a terrible, terrible, terrible fight. And we all thought, all right, maybe he'll rebound from that. He'll have a good performance against Dan Henderson, and he doesn't. He's got a close fight with Hendo, and he struggles there too. And when you're fighting someone as aggressive as Chael, you can't be that tentative. You can't stay and play that pity patter game and try and play patty cake with your hands, because you're going to get taken down. You're going to get dominated. You're going to get outworked. You're going to gas because you're fighting someone who's going to set the pace. And that's what, if Rashad wants to win this fight, he has to set the pace, and he has to take it to Chael, which he probably won't do. He probably won't take it to Chael. Chael's going to take it to him. Chael is going to bring the fight to him. Chael Sonnen, love him or hate him, one thing he does is he fights everyone. He goes out there and he fights you. He gets in your face, he takes you down, and he beats you up. And you know it's coming, but you can't do anything about it because he's so damn good at what he does. That being said, Rashad is unbelievable. Rashad is fantastic. And even though he's had a couple poor performances, he's still Rashad Evans, and we shouldn't doubt Rashad Evans. That being said, you're only as good as your last fight. And his last fight, he was not very good. Sure, he got the W, but it was a very close fight, and it was not very convincing. While, on the other hand, Chael just submitted a former world champion in Shogun, someone who was ranked in the top 5 or 6 in the world. So, this is a very close fight. I think Chael will win the decision. I believe Chael will take two out of 3 rounds. I believe Chael will win the first round. He will lose the second round, and he will finish strong and win the third. It's going to be tough. It's going to get bloody. It's going to be it's going to be a nail biter. And there'll be times when Rashad will be in a bad position. There'll be times when Chael will be in a bad position. And this will end up being the fight of the night because of how back and forth it's going to end up being. But I believe Chael will end up with a unanimous decision in the end. I think it's going to be a clear winner because he will win 2 rounds. And this is the unbiased me talking. I truly believe Chael Sonnen will be able to take the fight to Rashad Evans and put up a pace that Rashad's never seen before. Chael has fought people who just come forward and fought him. Rashad has never fought anybody like Chael. And quite frankly, Chael has never fought anybody like Rashad. Rashad is unbelievable. He's kind of one of a kind, but so is Chael. He's never fought anyone like Chael. And to me, that's going to be Rashad's downfall. And Rashad is going to lose the decision because of it. But it's going to be very, 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 very close. And whether you're a fan of Rashad or you're a fan of Chael, you shouldn't count either guy out. And we can only hope that we see an unbelievable fight, which one way or another we will.
Alan, this is the reason you're going to Vegas. Your favorite fighter, Chael Sonnen, taking on Rashad Evans. Who do you got in this one? I'm really curious. I'm not really sure who you're gonna pick, but no. What do you think goes down in this one?
I think Rashad Evans is going to come out and KO Chael in the first 15 seconds of the fight.
That's what I figured you said.
Yeah, right, motherfuckers. Chael Sonnen's going to come out. He's going to blast that double leg. He's going to take Rashad down. He's going to hold him down for about 2.5 minutes. Rashad's going to muster up enough strength to get back to a knee in one hand. Chael Sonnen's going to grab Rashad's back, take that rear naked choke, and it's going to be done in the first round. One more in the win column, one more in the record book, and one more for the bad guy.
And that's coming straight from the gangster of Baton Rouge. Let us move on to the main event. George St-Pierre taking on Johnny Hendricks for the welterweight championship. Johnny and George are both on very impressive winning streaks. Johnny's taken out TJ Waldberger, Pierce, Fitch, Koscheck, Campman, and Carlos Condit. George, since losing the belt to Matt Serra in one of the biggest UFC upsets of all time at UFC 69 back in April 07, he's torn off an incredible 11-fight win streak. Koscheck, Hughes, Serra, Fitch, Penn, Alves, Hardy, Koscheck, Shields, Condit, Diaz, the who's who of the welterweights, and once again he's going to be tested with a guy that a lot of people think is the answer to the GSP riddle. You know, I can think back to UFC 111 prime time. Hardy's so strong, he's gonna win UFC 124. Koscheck's got the wrestling to match him. Shields has the jiu-jitsu to grapple with him. Condit has the kickboxing to take him out. Diaz has the boxing to take him out. None of them have been able to do it. All of those fights, and in fact 7 of his last 8 wins have gone the distance, the full 25 minutes, and he has won them all. He's one of the most dominant fighters, definitely the most dominant welterweight in UFC history. And actually, I'm glad that reminded me. I almost forgot it, because it is time. Wait, it's not time, because I'm always really good about queuing up the music segments before I need to do them. I'm awesome with that. Stat of the day time, motherfuckers. Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Here comes the stat of the day! Statistically, GSP's undeniably the best welterweight and one of the greatest fighters of UFC history. He holds the UFC records for most significant strikes landed, total strikes landed, takedowns landed, takedown accuracy, and will have the record for total fight time after Saturday. Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Here comes the stat of the day! I would do another stat of the day just dedicated to the picture that Alan just tweeted me and Ross of his dog's head just resting on his crotch, saying, "Is this legal?" But I don't know if I could drum up 20 seconds of solid material for that one. But yo, let's talk about GSP taking on Johnny Hendricks. Johnny, obviously the underdog, but a lot of people are saying that Johnny's got the wrestling, maybe not that's superior to George, but that's good enough to where George isn't going to dominate him. Maybe he can sprawl and keep it standing. Maybe he won't get held down as a lot of guys are held down by GSP. And the main thing, Johnny has something that people thought Dan had, Hardy, but really think he did. He's really facing one of the hardest punchers he's faced in his entire career in Johnny Hendricks. He has the left hand that can end any fight in an instant. Johnny, I think, knocked out John Fitch in 12 seconds, Martin Kampman in 46 seconds, TJ Waldberger in 95 seconds. The guy is a killer, and GSP's definitely going to need to keep that right hand up to watch out for the left of Johnny. I'm going to be rooting for Johnny hard, but GSP has been so dominant and so well-rounded, whether it's his wrestling, his balance, his strength, his striking defense. He is one of the most well-rounded fighters, if not the most well-rounded fighter we've ever seen in the UFC. And it's hard to make an unbiased pick against him, especially because we've heard, like I said so many times, that this guy is the answer, and George just goes out there and wins a dominant 50-45 decision. Ross, GSP Hendricks, break it down for us.
All right. The popular cool pick is to go, oh, Johnny Hendricks, yeah, man, he's the next big thing. He's going to hit him with the left hand, and GSP's going to go to sleep, and they're going to take that French-Canadian bastard out on a stretcher, and we're all going to celebrate and get drunk, and it's all going to be fun. But that's not what's going to happen. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but Johnny Hendricks is not going to beat George St-Pierre. Could he beat George St-Pierre? Yes. Is he going to do it? No. Johnny Hendricks has one way of winning this fight, and that is to land one of his big shots. And he's definitely the hardest puncher that GSP will have fought to date. He hits harder than any man he's ever fought, and he's not the best striker he's ever fought. But no, obviously he's not. But he's definitely the hardest hitter. He's a well-rounded guy, Johnny. He's got good hands. He sets a great pace. I mean, we saw in his last fight with Condit, he can push, and just come forward. And he does have good wrestling credentials. However, he's not a better mixed martial artist than George St-Pierre, and he's not a better MMA wrestler than GSP. GSP can and will take Johnny Hendricks down. GSP's takedown defense is like at 85%, while Johnny Hendricks is at like 60. And Johnny only lands like 50% of his takedowns, while George lands nearly 80% of his. So stylistically, stats-wise, it leans completely in GSP's favor, even though everyone thinks, oh, Johnny's going to stop his takedowns and he's gonna knock him out. It's easy. It's not as easy as it sounds. George is a master of coming up, and George and Faraz and everyone over at TriStar and the people he brings in, they come up with these masterful game plans and these masterful ways of how to they dissect the opponent and they figure out how to beat the opponent. And that's exactly what they have done for Johnny Hendricks. It's no different. They have studied Johnny Hendricks. They know Johnny Hendricks inside and out. And Johnny Hendricks can be beaten. Now, George St-Pierre can be beaten too. He can be knocked out. We've seen it before. He can be submitted. We've seen it before. But the likelihood of it happening at the hands of Johnny Hendricks is low, because Johnny Hendricks just does not have all the tools to do it. He has one tool, and that's the big left hand. George St-Pierre can take him down. He can submit him. He can TKO him. He could do all different things. He can throw that Superman jab and then take him down. And George is actually a better striker than him. George is a more well-rounded striker than Johnny Hendricks, but he shouldn't keep this fight on the feet for very long, because obviously it's playing with fire, because Johnny does have a very good left hand. Now, George may have a game plan that is tremendous to stay on the feet, jab him like Koscheck, and stop just any offense from Johnny and just completely demoralize him. And as this fight goes on, it just bodes worse and worse and worse for Johnny. Johnny, if he wants to win this fight, has to knock George out in the first or second round, specifically the first. I think if he doesn't get him in the first, it's going to be really hard to get him in the second, and if you don't get him in the second, it's game over for him. because his cardio is not going to last him all 5 rounds.
And if he tags him, he can't gas himself out trying to finish.
Well, if he tags him, he's going to put him to sleep. George, first of all, if he's going to put out guys like Fitch and Campman and Brenneman and Wahlberger and all those people that he's knocked out, if he hits George, he's going to put George out. And George was hit with that kick from Condit. He nearly got finished there. So George definitely can be knocked out, but I don't see it happening. I see George coming in with the game plans that he's always able to come up with. I see him picking Johnny Hendricks apart. When he's on the feet, he's able to keep his distance and hit him with kicks and the Superman punch and the jab, and then he's going to set up his takedowns well and just dominate him on the ground, and he's going to win another 50-45 unanimous decision. And it pains me to say it because I want Johnny Hendricks to win. I like Johnny Hendricks a lot. He's so fun to watch. He's such a good guy. He's got a great story. He's got a great background. He's a great collegiate wrestler. He's a great fighter. And he truly is the number one contender. It's the first time in a long time that we have someone who we can say, this guy deserves this shot more than anybody else out there. And that's Johnny Hendricks. There is nobody else in that division that deserves a shot more than Johnny Hendricks does, because he's beaten everybody else. So,
it's been a long time coming, too. I remember being in Chicago back in 2012 thinking, why isn't Johnny getting a shot?
Yeah. So he truly deserves it, and he deserved it when he knocked out Fitch. He deserved it when he beat Koscheck. He deserved it when he beat Campman. He deserved it when he beat Condit, and now he's finally getting it after beating Condit. But just all the stats don't line up in his favor. George is a master of game plans. You look at their reaches. George has got a 5-inch reach, 76-inch reach, and Johnny's got like a 60-something, 68-inch reach or something like that. So he doesn't even match up with that. So George can just stay on the outside and hit him with that jab and then take him down when he wants to. So I love Johnny Hendricks, but I'm going with George St-Pierre by unanimous decision yet again. And then after that, it's like, who else is there for George to fight?
Alan, what do you think about this main event?
Yeah, it's going to be really cool to be there and see GSP get knocked out in the first round in like the first 20 seconds. Going to be there live in person, and he's going to go to sleep and retire.
You're just chilling out with that dog resting its head right on your crotch, huh?
No, he's actually in between my butt cheeks now.
In between your butt cheeks. Are you wearing pants? Are you not wearing pants?
I'm wearing a thong.
Wearing a thong. That's interesting. All right, I guess we'll end it on
downhill just like in a second.
We will end it on that horrible note. It crashes and burns just like today's JRE. If you heard that, it crashes and burns at the very end. Before I play us out, what does that mean, to play us out? Before I play us out, quick shout out to MMA Mental, quick shout out to Ramsey's The Aunt Jimmy Show on Twitter, the Word on the Street podcast every Tuesday. Quick shout out to our boy Yao the Truth on Twitter at YAO_the Truth. Shout out to our boy Chris Lowenstein at C Lowenstein, J Jeans, J_Jeans, P Money at Sweet Pappy Jones. Ross, where can the ladies and gentlemen find you?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, if you want to be enlightened, if you want to learn more things, if you want to become a better human being or become a worse human being, you can go to my Twitter, twitter.com/Ross Finkelstein, E before the L, and I can tell you everything that you need to know about mixed martial arts, boxing, kickboxing, football, baseball, basketball, tennis, anything you want. Professional wrestling, midget tossing, cooking, cleaning, anything. I can give it to you all. So follow me on Twitter at Ross Finkelstein, E before the L. Final round this Friday after Bellator, live from the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. Me, Jake, Alan, studio, whatever our room number is. Check it out. No time set. We'll let you know. Follow me on Twitter at Ross Finkelstein. E before the L.
And of course, we got the Baton Rouge gangster, Alan Hamilton. What is going on with you? Where can we find you?
Well, starting Wednesday through Sunday, you can find me in Las Vegas, Nevada. The MGM Grand will be the base camp of Team Sonnen. We're going to be repping Team Darkside. Catch us on Twitter. All of the Twitter handles they posted before. And also mine, Westland Eagle AH. I'll be posting updates. I probably will never get around to posting any of the YouTube videos that I take because, I've been to 3 events already and still haven't done that for the first one. But I'll probably promise a whole bunch of shit and not deliver, but follow me anyway because I might have some good pictures or tweets or, some shit of relevance to UFC 167. So, yeah, and we might do a giveaway while we're there. I might be giving away some UFC Round 5 action figures on the podcast. So stay tuned, motherfuckers.
Word, I will be somewhere around Las Vegas, stumbling around Las Vegas with these fucks. We usually play each show out with the song Jiu-Jitsu by Smoke Serpent. It's the same song we play as the intro to every show. Definitely check out Smoke Serpent and support them on SoundCloud and on the YouTubes. But tonight we're gonna play it out with a little audible here. It's a rap, and the rap, who he's talking about, it's not important. It's about who's rapping it. I am gonna play us out with the Chael Sonnen rap. We're out until next Monday when we'll be back with the 69th episode, special edition of the MMA podcast. Thank you so much for the support. Follow us on Twitter. Keep up with us for the craziness this weekend at UFC 167 at the MGM Grand with these 2 crazy fucks. We'll see you next week. We gone.
You're going to be shaking hands with Jesus. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Chael Sonnen. This is called Who You Gonna Send? This is written for Anderson Silva. Anderson, think it through. Couple months left before they lock that cage behind me and you. Last time, they raised your hand, but it was plain to see. I took a lot more out of you than you took out of me. I broke the mirror, and I blew away the smoke. It was me who tapped, but it was you who broke. So Anderson, my friend, think it through. Who you gonna send? Frankenstein Nogueira or your lapdog Ed Soros with a couple of rusty pistols and a beat-up Ford Taurus? If they shoot like you fight, all they're gonna do is bore us with your overrated stand-up and your takedown defense that's porous. Karate Boy Machida, will he show up? With some fresh warm PP in a Starbucks cup? Vandalay, Vitor, Babalu himself, I'll give them all beatings and put them back on the shelf. So get in the gym and work on your sprawl. I just talked to Uncle Dana and it's winner take all. I'm gonna leave you with some string and a whole bunch of welts. Gonna need to keep your pants up, Anderson, because I'm taking your belt. I'm not a martial arts, I am a gangster from Westland, Oregon. When I was young, they used to call me the foreman, not because I was in charge, but because I did the work of 4 men. Anderson, Little Miss Anderson. I call you a girl, but you're not, you're a mannequin. Anderson, Little Miss Anderson. I am Chael Sonnen, and I am the People's Champion. Look, you're a wuss. There's no way to put it lightly. You ducked me for years, and now Dana's making you fight me. When I beat you in Brazil, I'm gonna leave a whole lot richer, but I'm not going anywhere until that old lady makes me a steak for dinner. Anderson, Princess Silva. Fight you with my eyes closed, and I'd still kill you. Anderson, Princess Silva. Does this bicep look familiar?